WOGL HD3, Philadelphia. Always live on the free Odyssey app. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. Live and local from Philadelphia. Free speech lives here. It's Kayal and Company on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
And away we go, live on this Friday, April 21st. It is indeed Kayal and Company here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. We are always live on the free Odyssey app and streaming live for your video viewing pleasure on YouTube. As we head till 10 o'clock this morning, 855-839-1210, the phone number, Twitter and Instagram at 1210 WPHT. I am on Twitter at Nick Kayal, Kayal. Dawn Stensland with the news. Greg Stocker, the chairman of the board. Anthony Dorenzo, Daniel Valdez, our associate producers, as we get ready to wrap up another week. Yesterday, 420 Day. What do they call it today? Earth Day, I believe?
Officially, it's tomorrow.
Oh, is it tomorrow?
Officially.
So we're just going to save the Earth today with the Odyssey corporate employees today.
It's the eve of Earth Day.
We're going to be going outside today after the show, going into the city of Philadelphia, picking weeds, and doing good work in the community. Greg Stocker, good morning. How are you?
What's up, buddy?
Well, I'm just looking forward to throwing on some sweatpants and some beat-up clothes in 80-degree weather and yanking weeds, all for a good cause.
Yeah, it's going to be hot today too.
I know. It's the hottest day of the year.
You're gonna sweat.
Yeah, it'll be fine. It's daunting to think about now. It's 6:05 in the morning, but when we do it, we'll be at in Fairmount Park cleaning up.
Yeah.
From all the disgusting people that leave trash everywhere.
Right. Maybe a climate change activist will show up and threaten to kill me. It'd be a great way to go.
I did it last year, and I actually took down an entire tree.
Did you?
So yeah.
Some people were taking down trees yesterday on 420. Dawn, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Doing great.
We got a big show coming up today. Also coming up at 9:35 this morning, John Brazier and the Philly Fanatic will be in studio.
What? The Philly Fanatic doesn't talk.
I know.
How are we doing this? How's this going to be radio?
It's amazing. We've got the Philly Fanatic celebrating its birthday, and then another Fanatic having a funeral. Some of you will pick up on that. Others of you won't.
Hey, now.
Hey, now. But we got so many good things to get to this morning. A major win for civil discourse and open dialogue. That'll be the theme of the big take this morning. Looks like we've got an official announcement on the way for Joe Biden.
What?
Yep.
Oh, boy.
In 2024. That could come next week. We'll give you those details.
Can I just say, too, I'm going to retire off of my winnings from picking the Sixers all throughout the series.
You're actually on fire right now. Folks, if you need to make a little extra side change, ride Greg Stocker's picks. Just remember, though, that the feds are coming for you if you collect more than $600 via PayPal or Venmo. Also, this morning, lefties melting down over losing their blue check mark on Twitter. More details on John Fetterman. And apparently RFK Jr. is a MILF magnet.
What?
Yeah. What the headline says.
Wait a minute.
Yep.
Dawn, did you vet these stories?
Nope.
Dawn's a great journalist.
I did not vet anything.
Okay.
He's free.
Okay.
And it's free Wild Friday for Nick Kayal.
That is correct.
On this eve of Earth Day.
This is going to be a wild show. All sorts of good stuff. But before we get to all that, let's get down to the pertinent business with the great Dawn Stensland for the first round of the news here on Kayal and Company.
Thank you, Nick. On this Friday, April 21st, and yes, we're heading up to the 80s, so we will sweat together later. But for now, let's talk about the news. We are sponsored this Friday morning by Piazza Premium Automobiles and Philadelphia police investigating, multiple crime scenes across the city and beyond. But Philadelphia police investigating a double shooting involving a 12-year-old last night, about 8:30 last night, 2300 block of Tasker Street in the city's Point Breeze neighborhood. This is a 12-year-old shot there. Officials say he was riding his bicycle, was near his home when he was shot. So we're told he's listed this morning in stable condition at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. We know that another victim, a 30-year-old man, was also shot twice, and police transported that 30-year-old to Penn Pres, where he's also in stable condition. We have no arrests, no weapons recovered, no suspects in custody. We'll think about all the shootings. I don't even have time in this newscast or any newscast to talk about all the given shootings in the city of Philadelphia. I'm highlighting mostly the ones involving children.
Yeah.
Think about this week, Wednesday, another teen shot at Dendy Rec Center. Last week, 24-year-old Dante Moore killed at the Aubury Rec Center. Nick, we've talked about these 300 shootings at Philadelphia rec centers since 2019. And we've talked about the fact that, what was it, a couple weeks ago, City Council, their answer was more cameras. And we feared that would not be preventive. It only helps police in the cleanup and hopefully catch suspects.
Terrible. 300 in a place that's supposed to be a safe spot for the youth of today.
I was just going to say, how about less rec centers? Like, I don't mean to be cruel, but I mean, they seem to be havens for this type of nonsense.
Yeah. Fair
Less
point.
rec. Well, let's have less schools. That's like saying we're obese. Let's have less grocery stores.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, what's the problem?
The problem is a few thugs, not all. The vast majority of the kids are in the rec centers, trying to escape from this. And in my humble opinion,
nothing good happens at these rec centers. That's what I'm saying.
Outside, but inside, good things happen. In my opinion, I just want everybody in the city of Philadelphia and beyond pretend that Jim Kenney and DA Larry Krasner are Republicans. How would the media treat this whole situation?
Oh, my goodness.
Just pretend for a moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so have zero tolerance.
Mm-hmm.
Call on the freaking National Guard. 300. Can you imagine if 300 kids were shot in somewhere else in suburbia?
I know.
It'd be zero. Anyway, don't even get me started.
I won't.
All right. We have this, a situation where we have 11 shots fired. This is East Van Kirk Street. This is a Lawncrest section of Philadelphia. Philadelphia police say this large group of teens shot up a FedEx delivery truck in Lawncrest. That was last night, too, 10 o'clock at night. Don't we have a curfew? So much for the curfew.
Yeah, I think it's at 2 p.m., but that's in the shopping districts.
Man.
So, I know. Witnesses tell police the gunshots came from this group of up to 20 juveniles, the Utes,
shocking,
15 to 16, appearing to be firing directly at the FedEx truck. The truck hit 4 times, and so the FedEx driver pretty shaken up, but not physically injured, but shaken up. 39-year-old FedEx driver was not struck by gunfire. So this one under investigation. I could go on and on. There's a lawsuit filed on behalf of that woman. Remember, we talked about this, the victim of that brutal attack in Center City, Philadelphia, 15th and Chestnut Streets, which I think is closer. Nobody wants to say Rittenhouse Square. Very close to Rittenhouse Square, okay? The 34-year-old victim was unconscious, remember, punched and beaten. So she's now suing Marriott and those juveniles, parents, etc. That one's going on. We can talk about that one. 7 suspects. So it's kind of like Utes gone wild in Philadelphia. But the other issue that I know Nick wants to talk about, and I'll just headline, is the House Republicans, as expected, did pass that legislation yesterday to protect the rights of girls and women, biologically born female athletes. And Biden, of course, vowing to veto it if it goes anywhere. So we'll just headline that one. We do have good news of the day, and that's the Sixers, even though there were some weird foul calls, but Sixers winning. Phil's not so much, but hopefully the Sixers just get her done and sweep this series. We are sponsored by Piazza Premium Automobiles. Discover the luxury of the Mercedes-Benz lineup, including the midsize GLC SUV and the fully electric EQ models. Test drive today, Mercedes-Benz of Westchester, Wilmington, and now Atlantic City. Piazza Premium Automobiles. Piazza bringing some good news. We thank the Piazza family for sponsoring us here on Kayal and Company News Live. T-Mobile Weather Center forecast this morning. We're 51 and cloudy right now, but what a difference just a few hours are going to make. So we're warming up. By the time of our cleanup, it'll be about 75 degrees during the afternoon-ish activities, but then warming up to 82 degrees, bright sunny skies. Tomorrow for your Saturday, 77 degrees We start out beautiful and sunny. However, we could see some sweeping, soaking rain later in the evening and into the late night hours. So get what you need to get done earlier in the day on Earth Day, Saturday the 22nd, tomorrow 77. And then for your Sunday, that rain later in the evening tees us up for a cooler day, 65 degrees, sunny on your Sunday. This is Kayal and Company News Live.
All right, Dawn, thank you very much. 6:13 on a Friday morning as we wrap up another week with one more Big Take.
The Big Take on Kayal and Company.
All right, the Big Take this morning, a major win for civil discourse and open dialogue. This past week, Stephen A. Smith, a black man who leans mostly left, who is the face of ESPN, welcomed Clay Travis, a white man who leans mostly right, who works for Fox News and Outkick, to his Odyssey No Mercy podcast. The two of them spent about an hour talking about many things, ranging from politics to social justice issues, to voting trends, to cancel culture and woke ideologies. And it didn't take long for the left to lose their minds, because we live in a world where progressives, left-wingers, and woke losers are not tolerant to discourse, dialogue, and even debate. If they don't agree with you, they will cancel you. If they are offended by you, they will boycott you. They will block you, and they will bash you in a fit of rage simply because they don't value free speech, the marketplace of ideas, and differences in opinion, beliefs, or policies. It's their way or the highway. But that's nothing new. We've known that for many years now. But Stephen A. Smith and Clay Travis showed America how it can be done. So if two highly accomplished, well-compensated opinion makers and commentators are able to achieve this when clearly neither of them need each other, then why can't everyone else? Here was Clay Travis talking with Stephen A. Smith on what cancel culture is all about.
I'm 100% opposed to cancel culture.
Define what cancel culture is to Clay Travis.
Cancel culture is, I disagree with what you said, and you no longer deserve to be able to make a living doing what you do. One of the things that bothers me the most is sports used to be 80s, 90s, 2000s. When you were out in an arena, when you were in a stadium, and your favorite team won, you would turn around and you would high-five everybody around you, and you wouldn't care about their race, their gender, who they voted for president.
Well, I definitely agree with you from the standpoint I'm against cancel culture. As Chris Rock said it best in his latest stand-up, when he talked about once upon a time, you used to want to get ahead by working your tail off and being the best that you can be. Now you just wait for somebody to mess up.
I'm 100%.
That is incredibly well said and true. And I think most Americans, regardless of political identity, would agree with that. However, most are afraid to voice their views if they don't align with the mainstream think tank viewpoints in fear of losing their job. It's beyond absurd that any American should be in danger of falling from graces in their profession or their social circle because of what they might say or believe on their personal Facebook page, especially when it's a bunch of woke losers who are angry at the world, hate America, and hate their own miserable lives, who somehow find some sort of short-term high in ruining someone else's life by joining a loud, vocal minority of miserable losers. That being said, there are a lot of people reportedly angry over the fact that Stephen A. Smith had someone on his Odyssey podcast that doesn't align with the views of the left and doesn't fall in line with mainstream media narratives. Sources say that ESPN isn't happy that Smith had Travis on his show. Keep in mind, this podcast is not an ESPN property. It's an Odyssey-owned property. Here's Stephen A. Smith crushing all the losers who are in their feelings over who he chooses to have on his podcast.
You know, I watched the reaction to my conversation with Clay Travis, obviously a successor to Rush Limbaugh on his radio show. You got a lot of people that, you know, writing stories and, you know, alluding to problems because I sat down and had a conversation. These are the people who are a problem. I thoroughly enjoyed my conversation with Clay Travis. He has his opinions. I have mine. He expressed them cogently with clarity. You can agree or disagree. I have my opinions. That's what makes the world go round. That's what No Mercy's about. And that's what the hell it's going to stay about. Let me be very, very clear. I talk to everybody. I don't agree with a lot of people or a lot of things that people say. I don't believe that's a reason to hate them any more than I want that to be a reason for them to hate me. Listen to what I have to say. If my points are valid, man up, woman up, and admit it. If it's still wrong and you believe that in your heart, then say so. We move on. Because that's what I'm going to do.
Did you hear that? It's you people who can't handle two people of differing opinions and backgrounds having a great chat about the issues of the day. You are the problem. Yes, you are the problem. Conservatives aren't the problem. Republicans aren't the problem. Classic liberals who value the First Amendment and free speech aren't the problem. It is this soft, woke, always offended people, small segment of the population that are the problem. And I hope that we get more of this. And it doesn't need to be just those at the top of the media food chain to show us what's possible. It could be all of us right here on 1210 WPHT. Heck, we allow liberals to call in all the time. They make up a small percentage of our audience, but they're always welcome to call in and challenge us. And some of you have on our opinions. And we have Democrats that listen and call the show. You may disagree with me. I may disagree with you. My facts, your opinion, my opinion. And that's great. That's what used to make this nation great. Emphasis on used to. And this can go even way beyond 1210 WPHT. This can be with you and your family members. You don't need to hate your uncle at Thanksgiving because he voted for Trump and because you voted for Biden or vice versa. Who cares? It's the beauty of a democracy. And even with your friends. Are you really shutting out a longtime friend now because he thinks what the Democrats have done the last 3 years is terrible? You're going to get in your feelings and just blow up a 20-year relationship because you don't like the way somebody now thinks politically? And Bill Maher absolutely nailed it yesterday. You heard the clip we played for you on the cut sheet. Quote, nobody ever gets canceled for being too woke. That's an obvious truth about cancel culture. It never goes after the woke mob, only the other side. And he says it's cowardice. That is stopping more people from speaking up. And I agree. We now live in this world where everybody walks on eggshells and is afraid of their own shadow. And then you have UFC founder Dana White blasting woke culture, and he explains why his company refuses to follow other brands, telling Fox News this past Saturday in a recent interview with Dan Bongino, we don't do anything woke over here at all. We never will, and we will never break that promise. Seems like it works out pretty well for the UFC because if you recall, Dana White went against the grain during the pandemic and was the first major sport to start packing arenas again with fans when other leagues had limited ticket sales to stop the spread and social distancing. Dana White went against the conventional national mainstream media narrative. But having said that, the reality is this. For cancel culture to be snuffed out, especially to the average Joe and the everyday American, it may ultimately come down to those in the workplace with hiring and firing power. If owners and managers quit bending the knee and show some gumption, well, then maybe, just maybe, this virus will be eradicated. And that's the big take.
The Big Take on Kayal and Company.
All right, big take on a Friday morning. If you want to jump in, your thoughts, your reaction, 855-839-1210 is the number. If you haven't heard that podcast, Stephen A. Smith with his No Mercy Odyssey podcast with Clay Travis as his guest this past week, definitely check it out. It's like an hour and 5 minutes long, and it's really good hearing two people with vastly different opinions on pretty much everything under the sun, short of the fact that they agree on free speech. Check it out. 855-839-1210. Coming up next, it looks like Joe Biden will make it official next week for 2024. The details on that and also how zero House Democrats vote in favor of protecting women's sports yesterday. It was right down party lines, and we have all the details coming up next here on Kayal and Company.
app. Download it now.
And the sign says long-haired freaky people need not apply. So I took my hair under my hand and waited to ask you why. He said you look like a
628, Kayal and Company here on this Friday morning. Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Nick, Greg, Dawn, Anthony, Daniel, as we roll till 10 o'clock this morning. You want to jump in? 855-839-1210. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube. Woo-hoo. Make sure you watch us. Do you want to make any demands bright and early for subscriber boosts?
So we're like 30 subscribers away, maybe 20 from 1,500, which I wanted to get to by the end of the week.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're listening right now, go to youtube.com/@1210WPHT. We're streaming live. We'll be streaming live all morning here from 6 to 10. And hit the subscribe button, and also hit the little bell there so you get alerted whenever we broadcast live.
That's right.
So
Feel like you're like a little alarm clock.
We just need 30.
Okay.
30. There's definitely more than 30 people listening right now. Definitely.
I checked yesterday in the evening. I went to the YouTube page and saw the replay of the show, like all 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had over 1,000 views the first day.
I know. Some of the biggest shows in this town only get 2,500 views. So
wow.
I'm very pleased with you and actually it's all Dawn Stenzel because everybody just wants to see her.
Nobody wants to tune in and
which
see
is
us.
Yeah, she's
Right.
the eye candy.
Yeah. Between your hair and my lack of hair, nobody's coming for us. There's no doubt.
My hair is like a hot mess right now. It's like a wild woman. I need to get it done.
Does it get messy when it gets humid out? You get like that,
my hair is not naturally straight.
Okay.
So it's like.
Right.
I got called out for having a mullet, so I'm just gonna I'm gonna embrace it. If I could grow a beard like you do, I would go full mountain man.
Really?
But I can't. I get spotty and.
Oh, you're like Patch Adams?
Oh, yeah, I can't.
Okay.
My beards are terrible.
855-839-1210, the phone number. So we got some of the news yesterday coming down the pike from Washington as it now looks like Joe Biden and his team will come out next week and officially announce their bid for re-election. Many people said it was just a matter of time. Many people doubt his ability to finish a second term. But this coming down yesterday, Joe Biden reportedly preparing to announce plans to run for re-election as early as next week on Tuesday. The Washington Post first breaking this on Thursday. And I think this was probably around 5 o'clock last night, that Biden's team is eyeing a video launch for Tuesday. I don't know. Maybe they'll launch like their own YouTube channel, like we have.
Yeah.
So they're going to do a video launch for Tuesday, which would coincide with the 4-year anniversary of when he launched his 2020 bid. The Associated Press, Bloomberg, and USA Today later confirmed that it could happen next week. The White House did not respond to a request for comment. One source close to the administration told The Hill that Biden may announce next week, while another source familiar with talks told The Hill soon when asked about the timing, which now all of a sudden, we have RFK Jr. in the fray, in the mix on the Democratic side. Yesterday, also in the evening hours, during the Tucker Carlson show, and I wasn't watching this, but I saw it come across my Twitter feed, Larry Elder, Republican, announcing that he will run in 24. So now you have, and I don't want to be disrespectful and call them fringe candidates, but guys I would say that really don't have any shot of ultimately winning, jumping in. So if you're tracking at home now, you've got Biden, you've got RFK Jr., you've got Trump, you have Elder, you have Nikki Haley, you have Vivek Ramaswamy, still no official confirmation or announcement from DeSantis, and we'll see what else transpires for the Democratic side of the ledger, but it looks like we've got more participants entering the pool.
Marianne Williamson.
Oh, yes.
I raised my hand like Greg Stalker, like a good student. And Nick nodded and called on me.
Yes. Mrs. Stensland, you can speak. Thank you for raising your hand.
Marianne Williamson, let's not forget her.
Yeah. What did she get? Like 3% was the number I think I saw yesterday.
Yeah.
So.
But she's our I enjoy her on any space. I loved her as an author, and she's Oprah's buddy, and her books are A Return to Love,
A return to
Divine.
Yeah.
So she's A Woman's Worth, which they should ask her about A Woman's Worth, right?
Yeah.
What is a woman?
What is a woman?
She's as we would say, Nick, a nutty broad.
Yeah.
But she's always been, out there,
Yeah.
but also very positive energy and a wonderful sort of positive energy writer.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is kind of fascinating to me that she keeps running for president.
Well, I mean, for the people that clearly know that they have no shot, but they
Yes.
still do it, is it just to maybe potentially be a VP? Like, what's the end game, like the end result of jumping into a battle that you know you can't win? Especially if you have to spend, because you're going to have to spend money for your campaign, right? So it's like one of these endeavors that you partake in. And I'm curious for the people that really, I mean, because these people have to, and I get it, they have egos and they've got some accomplishments and, they've been in the game for a while, maybe like an RFK Jr., who, which was great, by the way. He put out a campaign video last night that I thought was pretty interesting. And I think some people will get on board with it because I think a lot of people view him as, so kind of a guy that if you go so far left and you go so far right that they say they eventually come back around and touch each other. I think that's kind of where RFK Jr. might fall in. But what's the end game for some of these people?
For her, though, I will say this. She has a ton of money. She's able to raise a lot of money. She is an author and a speaker, but she believes in like the environmental causes and the whole positive energy thing. I think she's genuine in a lot of those beliefs. Mm-hmm. But I know my kids knew who she was. She's on TikTok. And I'm looking up an article at The Intercept that was within the past week or so. Mm-hmm. And it says, a recent poll found Williamson hovering about 20% with voters under the age of 30.
Wow.
And so she creates a lot of buzz and positive energy, talks about the issues of corruption and abortion and environment. And so I think she's trying to make that connection, but I think she feels she's an important voice for the Utes. As we say, the Utes.
Okay, I got it. The Dorenzos and the Valdezes of the world. She's representing the Gen Zers out
I think
there.
so.
Okay. All right, you got to carve out your little niche. I mean, there's a market for it. I see it. Here's the other thing that I thought was interesting yesterday. And it goes right down party lines. 0 House Democrats voted for a bill to protect female sports. A measure to protect female sports passed the House yesterday, strictly along party lines, with 219 Republicans supporting the bill and 203 Democrats voting against it. The Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act of 2023 would make it a Title IX violation to allow biological males to compete in female sports. The text of the measure indicates that it would be a violation, quote, for a recipient of federal financial assistance who operates, sponsors, or facilitates athletic programs or activities to permit a person whose sex is male to participate in an athletic program or activity that is designated for women or girls. It also stipulates that sex shall be recognized based solely on a person's reproductive biology and genetics at birth. Geez, go figure. Common sense, reality, and science all coming together as one. And the Democrats, quote, the party of science, those who said trust the science for the last 3 years, and roll up your sleeve, get your jab, trust the science, and they deny science, and they spit right in science's face because they value the feelings over a select few in the transgender community as opposed to protecting the rights of 51% of the human population on this planet. That is remarkable to me. But here's the thing that's interesting with this. It could be all for nothing because the measure would need to clear the Senate in order to even reach Joe Biden's desk. And our fearless leader that's going to be announcing his bid for re-election next week has already said, Dawn, even if it somehow got through the Senate, because we know it went through automatically with the House, it's dead on arrival when it shows up on my desk because I will veto it.
Yeah, and the interesting thing this morning and last night, I always look at the media side of how does the media report this, that it was passed yesterday as a breaking news story. Riley Gaines, who, of course, you had on fairly recently, Nick. And so all this reaction, nowhere do I hear in the so-called mainstream media that this is being reported by the name of the legislation, which is all about girls and biological female rights and protecting the rights of female athletes. Nowhere they say it's a trans ban. Everywhere, and I just always call that out for everybody to listen, look at the headlines, look at how this is being reported.
Yep.
Nowhere do they say the word protect girls. It's all about, they're banning something, they're blocking, and that's not true. Nowhere in there does it say, let's say a high school could create a lane by which everybody competes, and then you take the biological males, biological females, trans. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Nowhere does it ban trans. That's not the intent here. It's to protect biological females who, by our biology, even though I work out every day and I feel like I'm really strong and fast, the most out of shape guy in this building could probably lift way more than me, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just biology.
Yeah, it's called integrity as well, right? Like it's like the integrity of the sport. You're trying to protect females against guys.
Well said.
Brad Holmes, and I didn't even know who this guy was myself yesterday, but apparently he's the general manager for the Detroit Lions, African American man, and there's a picture of him at a press conference yesterday leading up to the NFL draft that Riley Gaines retweeted because he's wearing this shirt, and he actually, I guess, was probably being asked by the Detroit media about what the Lions are going to do in the draft, and he said that he supports women and girls in sports, and he almost went out of his way at the press conference to make this, sadly, this political or social commentary, which, I always say, if you're in sports, stay in your lane, stay out of the politics and social stuff. And usually when those that don't do it, it's usually a left-leaning message because they feel like they can say that stuff in that environment. But this general manager, if you check out Riley Gaines' Twitter feed, I support women and girls in sports, got over 42,000 likes.
Wow.
And I think this is big because I think a majority of people do support Riley Gaines, even if they stay quiet on that front publicly out of fear that, hey, if I start defending Riley Gaines, my employer or my friends or family or people out of the blue will start attacking me on Twitter as transphobic.
Yeah.
When that's not the case. It's like it's just a common sense fight of, hey, let the girls do their things, right?
Yeah.
So
I love that story, Nick, because it's really about biologically born females. It's not about, most Americans especially, we want everybody to have a chance to have equal rights. And so nobody wants to bully a trans person and or do anything of that nature, but that's what you're made to feel like. It's almost like that argument where if you're making an argument and you're using facts and then somebody blurts out, well, you're a racist, because that's all they kind of have.
Yep.
Kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. All of a sudden, nobody hears the facts anymore. They just heard the accusation of racist, and it's an inflammatory word, and I think it immediately shuts people's brains off, and then they get emotional. It's funny, you mentioned biological males and biological females. Caitlyn Jenner has weighed in on the conversation, slamming Joe Biden and Title IX, saying that the president wants to destroy women. So apparently Caitlyn Jenner was on one of the Outkick shows yesterday and said the following. Joe Biden declared just weeks ago that he wanted to change Title IX, which was set up back in the 80s for fairness in women's sports. It was primarily the NCAA scholarship program, basically saying that if the men's team gets 10 scholarships for soccer, well, then the women's team needs to get 10 scholarships for soccer. It went through. It is the law. And it raised women's sports, Jenner goes on to say, not only from the scholarship standpoint and getting a great education, but it brought women's sports teams and uplifted them. Now Joe Biden wants to destroy women's sports by using this radical gender ideology by saying it's just how you identify. Jenner goes on to say, it's not your DNA, it is just how you identify to play women's sports. It is wrong, and it cannot go through. So you even have Caitlyn Jenner, who used to be a guy, coming out and saying, no, even I think this is wrong.
There's a lot of transgender people that speak out against this.
Oh, is it really?
There are, but they don't get as much coverage as the ones that say you're killing trans kids. I'll play a clip later on this morning of a Politico writer on MSNBC saying basically these things are these laws and all this talk is just killing trans kids.
Okay.
So those are the voices that get propped up in the media. The ones that we played, like that guy from Lives with TikTok who transitioned at a young age, is now 30 and is like, I'm telling everybody, don't do this. I didn't know what I was doing. That stuff kind of gets put on the back burner.
Right. And then, of course, you have that guy we played for you yesterday from TikTok that says, if I walk into a female bathroom, trust me, I'm going to do it. And if you try to stop me, it'll be the last move you ever make.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is a call to arms.
Kind of threatening.
Yeah, kind of threatening.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But it was mostly peaceful. 855-839-1210. We'll come back, wrap up the first hour. RFK Jr., he's a MILF magnet. And also John Fetterman, some more details into just how exactly he felt when he was at rock bottom with his battle with depression. That's coming up next. Kayal and Company, Nick, Dawn, and Greg. Talk Radio 1210, WPHT. Bruce on a Friday. 6:49, Kayal and Company.
We should do sing-along Fridays.
I agree. And I actually think the rule should be anytime you come back with a little bit of the boss, you need to do your Bruce impersonation. 'Cause me and Dawn love it as fans of the boss.
Had a few drinks and all they kept talking about.
Go ahead, Greg.
Glory days.
Yeah.
And passing back.
Wow.
Glory days.
Audience is saying this right now in their cars.
Holy crap!
Would Greg stop doing that? All right. Good stuff. Great to have everybody in here on a Friday. 855-839-1210. Dawn's news coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, just about an hour away from what's on the cut sheet. And also, going to play you this RFK Jr. official ad that I thought was interesting. But before we play that audio and before we get to the Fetterman details and some of these quotes, I did tease this before the break about RFK Jr. and his bid for the presidency. So apparently this guy ends up having all sorts of ladies flocking to him. One individual saying, "I've never seen so many hot MILFs in one place at one time." Yes, this is one man at the rally that told the New York Post in regards to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. That people apparently came all the way from Los Angeles to his family's hometown to launch their improbable bid for the Democratic presidential nomination Wednesday in Boston, Massachusetts, which was held at the Park Plaza Hotel. His supporters, and this is right from the New York Post website, his supporters, a mix of old-time Democrats dreaming of Camelot, Republicans, and anti-vaxxers all together, came from as far as Vermont and Palm Beach to see the 69-year-old who's been described by no less than the Boston Globe as someone who, quote, without his name would be just another fringe-dwelling extremist. That according to the Boston Globe. Many other headlines have been out there leading with anti-vaxxer Robert F. Kennedy Jr., but inside the red, white, and blue bunting-draped ballroom at the Park Plaza, filled with Secret Service-style security and bomb-sniffing dogs, Kennedy supporters held signs reading, "Heal the Divide" and "Kennedy 2024. Apparently, there was an eclectic mix of a variety of individuals. And once again, this one man at the rally told the Post, "I've never seen so many hot MILFs in my life," and they were all flirting, end quote. So, hey, you know, the Kennedys, they know how to get down. If you've kind of judged history in the last 50, 60 years.
It's true. Is there any doubt that a guy with the last name Kennedy has a bunch of hot ladies at his party?
We go all the way back to what? Marilyn Monroe, correct?
Sure.
So, I mean.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, we talk about sleazy things happening in the White House. Let's not forget about RFK Jr.'s dad and his brother.
Yep.
Basically having their way with Marilyn Monroe at the same time.
Right.
So, allegedly.
Right.
I guess you have to say that.
Yeah, allegedly.
And let's not forget his hot wife, Cheryl Hines. His first two wives passed away.
Yeah.
And Cheryl Hines, who I love her as a comedic actress with Larry David.
She was great on Curb.
Mm-hmm.
She was on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
She is 57 years old.
She looks great, by the way.
Yeah, she keeps herself in great shape.
Mm-hmm.
He's 69.
Yep.
They are definitely a power couple, and yeah, they look good.
Yeah. All right, so let's hear this ad, because I do think there are some conservatives, some free speech absolutists that will like what Mr. Kennedy had to say in his presidential campaign ad as he launches his bid to challenge Joe Biden. Let's take a listen.
What we need in the United States is not division. What we need in the United States is not hatred. What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another.
Every nation has a darker side, and the easiest thing for a politician to do is to appeal to our hatred and our anger and our bigotry and greed and xenophobia and all of the alchemies of demagoguery. My father and my uncle had a vision for America, a vision of racial harmony, of prosperity for all Americans, of peace in the world, and of honest government. Their lives were tragically cut short, and America took a different path. Yet the possibility they foresaw is still alive, the America that almost was, and yet may be. I've been fighting corporate corruption my entire life, but I understand that today the problem is much larger than a few crooked individuals. The problem is a system that no longer serves the people, and a people who are so divided and so fearful that they are easily ruled. It's time to unlearn the reflexes of fear and blame and find ways to unify ourselves and turn our country around. I won't pretend to you that it will be easy, but I know what it will take. My father said it: love, wisdom, and compassion toward one another, and that's where we need to start. We will scale down the war machine and bring our resources home. We will rebuild our water systems, repair our roads, modernize our railroads, and clean up our environment. We will also clean up government and earn back the people's trust. We will end the secrecy, the censorship, and the surveillance. We will again be a fearless land of liberty.
The cost of freedom is always high, but Americans have always paid it.
We will face honestly the darker parts of our history, the genocide, the racism, not to shame or blame or punish, but to repair as best we can in a spirit of compassion and kindness toward all. I'm inviting all of you to join me to create an America that we can believe in and be proud of again. I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and I'm running for President of the United States.
All right, there you have it.
Wow.
I like the secrecy, censorship, surveillance commentary towards the end there. I like the ending of the corporate corruption. And I do think the theme of trust resonates, because I don't know that there are many people today on either side of the ledger that trusts the government or the media. I think we've lost a lot of trust in a lot of our establishments and institutions in this country. I would say that was pretty solid. I would still say, though, that Tim Scott's exploratory campaign ad that we played last week for you was better from the standpoint of kind of capturing me. I'd go Scott right now over RFK Jr. from an ad standpoint, but that was not bad. And by the way, we did establish yesterday that he's got some sort of vocal dystonia, I believe, if you're wondering why he sounds the way he does.
Like a rare muscle situation with controlling his vocal cords.
Correct.
But
good message. You like that or no?
I think that he is labeling himself. He's already identifying himself as that hopeful person, positive energy person amid, Biden is getting, we're getting into the weeds with the Biden scandals and the acting CIA director, that whole news that has been breaking, signing the letter that we talked about yesterday. So all of Biden's swirl of scandal, and then on top of it, the negative when Biden, came here to Philadelphia. Oh, MAGA, this and that and the other. There's not a lot of hope in that. And then you have the Republicans embroiled in this kind of a vicious back and forth. There's not a lot of hope, feeling good, hopey, changey stuff that Obama brought, quite frankly.
Right.
That was Obama's winning message, right? He was the feel good, let's change, let's be hopeful. Not saying that actually happened, but it was a winning message with the young, we talked about Marianne Williamson, who, doesn't have a chance.
Right.
But you look at who the youths are going for, those under 30 or even 34-ish and under, they go for a message like this. But he's also for abortion. He's pro-choice, but he's also that environmental guy.
You have to wonder, too. Dawn reported yesterday that most of his family, RFK's family, is not supporting him. And I wonder where his father would be if he were alive today on the political spectrum,
Interesting question. They do kind of view him as like a rogue family member, don't they?
And his uncle. And his uncle as well, like JFK. If he were alive today, where would he be on the political spectrum? So I just think it's interesting. Nick writes on YouTube, By the way, we're streaming live right now on YouTube at youtube.com/1210WPHT about the RFK ad, RFK Jr. If he beats Biden in the primary, he'll be a big problem for Trump. Independents will definitely go for this.
I could totally see that.
Because of the vaccine stuff and just the hopeful is just so different.
First of all, there's zero chance he's beating Trump
Right.
in the
Biden
in the primary.
I agree.
Zero chance. But can he peel off enough votes from Biden? I don't know. Well, to this point, could he peel off enough votes from Trump? He could.
I mean, he
with
got
the
14,
anti-vax stuff.
14%, right? Isn't that what we established yesterday?
Yeah, he's a turd in the punch bowl that might affect both.
Turd in the punch bowl.
In
Kind of
some
like
way.
that one. I like that one.
And just quickly, that's why I wonder, because he's an environmental guy, and you look at the Jersey Shore and the turbines, and all of a sudden
Yeah.
the Pentagon released that report saying, oh, these turbines, we're looking at this, could be national security risk. Is part of this that the Biden administration's worried because all these environmental activists are getting more and more concerned about those turbines and their effects.
855-839-1210, the number coming up next in the 7 o'clock hour. We'll get to Dawn's news, and then we've got details on electric cars, lefties losing their mind over Elon Musk, and also the latest details on John Fetterman as we work our way towards what's on the cut sheet. And we're back after this on Kayal and Company.
Free speech lives here. Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and on the free Odyssey app.
.705 Kayal and Company. Great to have you aboard as we kick off hour number 2 here on a Friday. Talk Radio 1210 WPHT, the Odyssey app, and live on YouTube, 855-839-1210. Anthony Dorenzo alerting us during the commercial break, just 4 subscribers away, Greg Stocker, from the all-important mark.
4?
Of 1,500.
Whoa.
Yeah.
By 7:05, who can be the 1,500th subscriber?
Do I
now?
hear 1,500?
Who can be the 1,500th subscriber?
Nice.
At 1210 WPHT on YouTube, streaming live all morning. Who can be the 1,500th subscriber? Wow. To think that we even got here this quickly.
To think that we're still even on YouTube at this point, quite
well,
frankly.
I put the over-under at early next week.
Okay.
We're canceled.
All right, I'm going to ride with you on that. I think it's a good number. You haven't lost many wagers lately. Kind of dialed in.
Yeah.
Nice win for the Sixers last night, by the way. All right, before we get to all of the goodies in hour number 2 that include electric cars, left-wingers on social media telling you what they plan to do with their lost blue check mark, and the latest on John Fetterman, we get some news from Dawn Stensland as we kick off the 7 o'clock hour.
And good morning. We are sponsored this morning in Kayal and Company News Live by Joseph Anthony Retreat Spa and Salon. I'll tell you how warm it's going to get this eve of Earth Day this Friday afternoon. A lot of news in Philadelphia that we've been headlining this morning. This FedEx truck driver evading bullets shot up in the Lawncrest section of Philadelphia. Bullets barely missing that driver. As police say, 3 of the 4 bullets that struck that FedEx truck went right through, pierced the windshield, but just barely missed that FedEx driver. And allegedly, the shooters, underage teenagers, 15, 16-ish. We also had in Philadelphia a 16-year-old becoming the latest teen killed amid Philadelphia's crime crisis. And before the end of the day yesterday, a 12-year-old became the latest child shot. So, a violent day in Philadelphia for sure that we've been headlining what's going on there. By the way, the latest one, the teen shot twice in the head, that was Grays Avenue in Southwest Philadelphia, 10:30 last night. Let's contrast that to the suburbs, okay? So in suburban Bucks County, what's going on with teenagers there? Well, high school students this morning, they're coming to school this morning, greeted by increased police presence. Why? Police say they received a warning of a possible threat of some kind of violence. This is Warminster police saying they were contacted by the Centennial School District about a phone call they got from an anonymous person on a blocked number. So a student at William Tennant High School receiving a potential threat directed at the high school, which would take place today. And so ultimately now police are investigating everything, but as a precaution, they're letting families know 0 tolerance for anything. And you've got police officers all around the schools and the school routes to make sure that there is a presence of police and making a statement with police presence that anybody doing any nonsense will be under arrest. 0 tolerance.
Good.
Amid a potential threat. There's your contrast.
Yeah. I've always wondered, too, because you mentioned the element of the blocked phone number. I've always wondered how quickly police can actually trace and track down somebody that makes a call like that on a blocked number, or even in this more advanced day and age of social media. And if you make a threat under some troll burner account, how quickly they can identify maybe your IP address to find out where these people are. Because I think that's a fascinating one. And I don't even know what the answer is. I'm sure there's somebody out there listening that might know that's a cop or something. But, you got to be able to pinpoint these red flags as quickly as possible and then eliminate the threat.
That's well put. My sense is they can track anything nowadays.
Yeah.
I think, thank God.
Right.
But it takes time. But So that's what's going on in Bucks County. If somebody didn't get the memo and they're doing school drop-off this morning and saying, what's going on with all the law enforcement here? Just trying to keep things safe for sure. Other headlines this morning, and I know like the Today Show this morning, they're one of their top stories, other than what they call a trans ban by Republicans.
The trans ban.
The trans ban, how this will kill your children.
All aboard!
At 7:22.
So it was the House Republicans. Republicans control the House now. Obviously, they passed that protect the rights of girls and women in sports. Has nowhere in it does it have a ban, but trans ban. The other headline making national news: ex-acting the CIA director revealing he had 50 spies sign a letter claiming that Hunter Biden, the laptop scandal, was actually Russian disinformation to help Biden, quote, win the presidential election. So that one is swirling that news. And even the Today Show did headline it today. Another big headline is Nick Kayal had talked about Larry Elder joining the race on the Republican side and so on. But Nikki Haley, presidential contender for 24, she is making headlines. Why? She wore off-white to the wedding. And people are outraged because only the bride can be wearing white to a wedding.
So I got to ask, this is a no-no, right, Dawn?
It's a huge no.
Yeah.
I'm going to admit, like, this is something that women, we talk about all the time, but you can't do it. There was a pretty famous, I'm not going to say her name, but pretty famous anchor woman and on-air personality, is a gorgeous person, wore white, not even off-white, to her first name's Lynn. That's all Doyle. Wore white to her daughter's wedding, and everyone was like, "Ooh, OMG!" Like, you know what I mean? It's
so
just
even though it's a different shade, people are still outraged over it.
People flip out over.
Okay,
this.
so the daughter's supposed to wear like your normal white.
Yeah.
She's wearing an off-white, so she should have been wearing like a teal or turquoise or whatever the bridesmaids are wearing. Is that the rules?
You know what my rule, because when my bonus daughter, I hate saying stepdaughter, Stacia, who I'm going to see tonight. When Stacia got married, I said, "What do you want me to wear?" Mm-hmm. I think that's the best rule.
That's the protocol.
Yeah. You tell me what color you want me to wear and what shade of blue or whatever, and that's what I'm doing. But this is even if Nikki Haley's like daughter told her to wear off white.
It looks the picture.
It looks white in the photos.
I think the Daily Mail has a picture. I don't know if we're able to put it up on YouTube, Daniel, but the Daily Mail has a picture of it, and you can it is. You take a quick glance at it, and you don't know which one's the bride and which one's the bride's mother. Honestly.
Well, I mean, is that also a testament to Nikki Haley at 51 years old, still looking pretty darn well?
She's gorgeous.
Even though Don Lemon says she's out of her prime.
But it's just, you can't do it.
Yeah.
And even if the daughter said wear this because you look, just don't do it.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. Are dudes petty like this with weddings? Like, I mean, because you have obviously the groom wears a tux, and then the best man or your group of guys, they wear something different as well, right? Like, I should know this because I got married. I got married in 1970.
155
I got
years
married
ago.
150 years ago.
Yeah.
But no, 2008. I got married 15 years ago. I don't even recall if we had separate stuff. What's the rule of thumb for this, or is this just females are being more petty than dudes?
Oh no, yeah,
it's a rule thing though. It's like this is like the edit, and I'm not a huge etiquette thing. That's why I relied on Stacia, who knew all that stuff. But I would just always say, don't wear any shade of white.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boom. For her, she married a Scotsman, so the men wore kilts, which was fun, and the boys were in the wedding, and the pictures were great. So they were, except Larry did not wear it. He's like, I'm not wearing kilt.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah.
And big difference in guys wearing kilts and guys transitioning and wearing dresses as girls.
Wait a minute. Can we just dwell on something for a second?
What?
Dwell on anything you would like.
You guys wore kilts at your wedding?
The men, the groom and the men, yeah.
Shades of Rowdy
Scotsman,
Piper.
bagpipes, the whole thing.
Hell yeah, man.
At Dawn Stensland's wedding.
No, not my wedding. Stacia's wedding.
Okay. I'm sorry.
That's your bonus daughter.
Yes.
Is what you call it.
Yes. Beautiful. But yes, married the wonderful Scotsman. Now they have 3 beautiful kids, bonus kids.
There you go.
Hey, whatever it is, you know what a real bonus is? Joseph Anthony Retreat Spa and Salon. Joseph Anthony Retreat Spa and Salon, the secret to spoiling the moms in your life. This spring, May 14th, Mother's Day. Now with 3 locations, Glen Mills, Springfield, Center City, Lowe's Hotel. Visit in person or online, josephanthony.com, where, of course, those gift cards are always available. josephanthony.com. I don't have time to get to the Sixers winning, Phil's losing. So the Sixers, hopefully we sweep, but we're going for the sweep for sure. T-Mobile Weather Center forecast. I think you're going to love it, because we're looking up to 84 degrees today, bright sunny skies, a beautiful day for our Earth Day Odyssey. Here's your one thing you can do, cleaning up the trash in the park. And then tomorrow, the actual Earth Day is 77 degrees, sunny. However, later in the day, late afternoon, showers roll in, and then we could have soaking rain that actually we need because it's pretty dry on Saturday night. That tees us up for a clear, crisp 65-degree Sunday, bright sunny skies. That's your T-Mobile Weather Center forecast, and this is Kayal and Company News Live.
All right, Dawn, thank you very much. I was just thinking about this. So everybody today for Odyssey Earth Day and this cleanup that we're going to do, we're actually going to do more work in 2 hours to clean up this city than Kenny and Krasner have done in a couple of years.
That's a great point.
It's a hell of a job out of us. See, we can do everything here, folks.
Yeah.
A couple of things here, and we'll get to some of the more lighthearted stuff, but I did want to get to these Fetterman quotes because I think he highlights and details a lot of what he was going through. John Fetterman says he was so depressed that he got lost walking around in Washington, D.C. He detailed the extent of his struggles with depression in an interview that was released yesterday, where he revealed he would become so disoriented because of the illness that when he was walking around the nation's capital, he would be lost. He says the following: "I was so depressed that I didn't even realize I was depressed. I didn't even understand it. This, to me, just became the new normal. I wasn't realizing that I wasn't eating. I didn't realize that I wasn't really drinking much. I dropped 25 pounds, and sometimes I would say things, incoherent things, and I would become kind of just disoriented and getting lost walking around in Washington. And then finally, when it was all decided that I needed to take this option that was provided to me, I realized that I knew something was wrong. They knew that I wasn't right," Fetterman said, adding that even though he knew something was wrong, he considered not signing himself into Walter Reed Hospital. Even at that moment, quote, "I still kind of pushed back about it too, sometimes saying, 'Are you sure? I don't really need it.' Because then when it really comes to that choice, I'm going to walk in here and sign myself in. I thought for a second, oh my God, no, wait a minute, I'm fine. I never mind, got this," the senator said. And as we know, on Wednesday, Fetterman was his first time leading a Senate committee hearing as he was met with, I should say, many people reacting on social media, because we played the audio for you 2 days ago. But those are some of the quotes from Fetterman in an interview that was released just yesterday. So, I mean, essentially, this guy was so deep and down into the depths of depression and the levels of depression that, I mean, this guy was basically walking around like a zombie. Didn't know where he was, didn't know that he wasn't eating enough food, didn't know that he was drinking enough water or staying hydrated. And I think we have done a really good job of separating, the fact that this guy can't do this job or should not be able to do this job, or somebody should say, hey, this is too much. I think we all have our doubts that he can fulfill the duties for 6 years. But I think, especially on this show, I think we've been fair from the standpoint of, we don't wish this on anybody. We certainly feel bad for the guy.
It's downright cruel. It's downright cruel what happened, because this guy is clearly was going through a ton. He probably still is.
Mm-hmm.
And, he has one of the most important jobs in the world.
Yeah. Yep.
It's cruel.
That really is.
There's no other way to say it.
It does. I agree with you. It just feels just cringeworthy cruel. And the fact that nobody advocated for him. I don't know what happens if somebody takes a medical leave. The problem is the balance of the Senate right now is so important.
Mm-hmm.
And with Dianne Feinstein and all that's happening with her, It just shows you that, in this case, the Democrats are saying, that they're compassionate, but this is the opposite of that.
I got a great tweet from somebody yesterday who said he was a lifelong conservative, and he said, think about the dynamics right now of the two parties. The Democratic Party has Dianne Feinstein, John Fetterman, and Joe Biden. They're incredibly old, and it's the conservatives that are almost the feminists now battling for female rights with Riley Gaines. He said, what a world to live in. I never thought I would see those two dynamics in play, because the theory, and a lot of people always want to say, well, the Republican Party, old and stodgy, the GOP, the Grand Old Party. You look at all the Democrats. I mean, how many Democrats are in their 80s, mentally checked out, or dealing with legit issues like Fetterman? I mean, right now, you look at the Democrats, and we've talked about this before. I think the Republican bench is much deeper.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with, rising stars and future people from whether it's Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, on down the list. And you look at the Dems, and it's like RFK Jr., he's 69 years old. Mm-hmm. And, presumably Gavin Newsom. But, much like DeSantis, there's no official announcement that those two would be running. So
that's why they need Kamala, right? Because they have no they have no diversity otherwise. No. Who do they have up there?
They've got nothing.
All right, this will be interesting for only the people watching on YouTube at youtube.com. But, we have to throw them a little bone. Yeah. Joseph asks, can Dawn blindly hook the trash, crumble up a piece of paper? Can you crumble up a piece of paper and try and hit your trash can?
Are we really shooting baskets here live on the radio?
Yeah, why not?
Unbelievable.
This is for YouTube at youtube.com/1210WPHT.
I thought day and age of...
There we go.
In?
Oh, so close.
Missed?
So close.
We might have to start setting odds on
it. It was close, though.
She did it without looking.
She did it without looking. Look it. Oh, so close. I'm watching it on replay. Good job.
Watching it on replay.
We're doing instant replay.
That's cute.
What's next? So you're going to have radio hosts eating burgers on the air now that we're on YouTube?
We might.
Sipping spaghetti sauce?
YouTube.com/1210WPHT. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. We were making such a serious point, and then I totally derailed the show.
Guys, can we stop being so sophomoric on this program?
If I wasn't the program director, I would call myself up and say, they were in the middle of a great conversation. You totally derailed it.
Right.
Be in my office at 10:03.
Have them get back on track.
Isn't it something that I'm usually the one that takes us off track?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
We're in the middle of a segment.
Lastly, and I want to save the Twitter meltdown and the Elon Musk stuff for our next segment, but this is worth mentioning. We've talked about this from, charging cars and, the costs and the ports and the station availability and what happens when the grid goes down. And I've said this has been my consistent theme. I don't think they have thought this through because they're so obsessed with just zero emissions and climate change and global warming. But all the possibilities of what could go wrong, I think the people pushing this, and this even goes as far as the conversation with these electric cars and, being rolled out with no AM radios in them moving forward. And we've talked about that aspect as well. But electric cars could lead to actually having more situations like the one that transpired this week in New York City, where a parking garage collapses due to having too many electric vehicles in it because the batteries in these vehicles weigh a ton. So
oh my God.
Think about this. Structural engineers and regulators in the United States, as well as Europe, are calling on builders to improve the structural integrity of parking garages, which, we have a 4 or 5 story parking garage here at Odyssey World headquarters because of electric cars. The massive batteries that power them dramatically increase the weight of the vehicle, and older structures are not built to hold them up. The complaint comes in just days after a tragic garage collapse in New York City, where I believe one person died, and I want to say there was 4, 5, 6 other people that were injured.
I think there was a homeless man who often he was homeless and was living in his car.
Right.
And he was the one killed.
Ah, jeez. Yeah. Man. Quote, I don't want to be too alarmist, but there definitely is the potential for some of the early car parks in poor condition to collapse. Chris Wapples, a structural engineer and consultant in the UK who authored new guidance on increasing weight limits for car parks, told the UK Telegraph, quote, operators need to be aware of electric vehicle weights and get their car parks assessed from a strength point of view and decide if they need the limit weight and limit the weight of these vehicles that enter the garage. Now, apparently, electric cars are significantly heavier than their internal combustion counterparts. According to the New York Post, the battery of the new all-electric GMC Hummer alone weighs 2,900 pounds, roughly the same weight as a Honda Civic. The Audi e-tron SUV weighs more than 5,700 pounds, more than 1,000 pounds heavier than a comparable Ford Explorer. So if, let's just say, you have a 4-story parking garage that maybe holds 80 vehicles, now all of a sudden, you have a garage that was built in 1957. You take out those 80 vehicles over time and replace them with electric vehicles at $1,000 pounds per battery. Now, all of a sudden, that structure is asked to hold 80,000 pounds more. You could see why a collapse would happen and somebody could get killed.
I never thought of this before.
Neither have I.
But let's think about then the wear and tear on the roads. And
Yep.
in a city like, let's say, Philadelphia, an older city, and older cities, especially on the East Coast, think about the wear and tear on all the bridges. Like on my road, we have a little creek and there's a little bridge, and they know that that's why they have weight limits. It says, they're having they know that thing one day is going to collapse.
Yeah.
And so this really would be, from what you're saying, a huge issue in older cities where we have all these bridges.
Yep. Bridges,
which could lead to,
roads.
It's
just an infrastructure nightmare if you think about it, especially those that aren't up to date and, taken care of. Like when I go down to Cal Pike in Bluebell, that road hasn't been taken care of in 70 years.
It's so funny. You hear this all the time. We saw it happen last summer when the grid went down in California because of the blackouts and they couldn't charge their cars.
Yep.
This push for EVs has been so short-sighted, and this administration has done everything they possibly can to push for it.
Yep.
And we just don't know.
I know.
You know what I mean? And this garage collapsing is one of the first examples of that.
Yes, it is.
It's a red flag,
Yes.
and everybody should look at it and say, let's figure this out. And nobody's against, ultimately, electric vehicles. Oh, that's cool someday. And then they can perfect the batteries. The hybrid is a great model.
Yep.
Remember, we were talking about the Piazza family. They were telling us this. Hybrids are fantastic because the engine is recharging the battery.
Well, Dan Piazza was telling us about hydrogen vehicles, right? And actually how that should be what we invest in, because that's the wave of the future. So, we haven't even scratched the surface on this, honestly.
No, we haven't. 855.
Like COVID.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually, right? 855-839-1210. If you want to join the show, you can comment on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram as well. Coming up next, the left melts down over Elon Musk taking away their blue check and having the audacity to charge them for what they used to covet. That's on the other side, but it just keeps on getting better. We just mentioned the Piazzas and Dan Piazza. Still remember that great lunch we had back in November. And we're going on now 12 weeks of unbelievable opportunities here with my friends from the Piazza Auto Group. They've allowed me to sample so many vehicles since the beginning of February, and I've gone from the Alfa Romeo to the Maserati to the Mazda CX-5 to now almost on my third week with the 2023 Hyundai Tucson Limited, and this thing is incredibly cool. Memory seats, heated and cooled steering wheel, multiple digital monitors, 10-inch screen right on the dash, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, panoramic sunroof, and cameras right on the dashboard when you shift lanes. And also some of the numbers, you can't beat this. Get 0% APR financing through 48 months, as well as a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty and complimentary maintenance for 3 years and 36,000 miles. Plus, it comes with the remote start park on the limited trim, which is the model that I have. And it's also a Motor Trend top safety pick. If you get too close to a vehicle, it beeps. If you get in a danger zone, it almost throws the brake on for you. If cars get too close, I mean, this thing is so safe, you'd almost have to be an idiot to get into an accident. Go see the general manager, Sam, today, or Mohammed, one of their sales and lease consultants, and they'll take great care of you, just like they did with me. Online at PiazzaHyundaiWestchester.com. 7:36 as we continue Friday edition of Kayal and Company. Talk Radio 1210 WPHT, the Odyssey app, YouTube, streaming all 4 hours for your viewing pleasure. YouTube.com/@1210 WPHT. Lorenzo says the comments have been very active on the YouTube page, which is very interesting. We'll certainly work your live reaction and feedback in as we continue. Plenty of ways for you to get us. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, @1210 WPHT. What's on the cut sheet coming up at 7:45 this morning. But let's get to a couple of things revolving around Elon Musk from yesterday. First of all, and this happened, I believe, right at the beginning of your show, Dawn, where the Starship exploded.
Yes.
During its attempt at an orbital launch. Elon Musk's SpaceX's Starship exploded into a ball of fire yesterday. It was, of course, unmanned, lifted off in South Texas, and successfully cleared the launch pad, its first milestone. But the craft was sent into a tailspin when the rocket failed to separate over the Gulf of Mexico, which obviously led to this explosion. The company's leadership, including Musk, has repeatedly stressed the experimental nature of the launch and said any result that involves Starship getting off of the launch pad would be a success. But once that thing exploded and blew up, of course, you had many on the left that do not like Elon Musk no more because, well, he believes in free speech and reinstalling that notion on Twitter. So you had many lefties losing their mind and having a good laugh, including former MSNBC host, now turned deranged lunatic Keith Olbermann, who tweeted out, "Blowed up good, blowed up real good." Hashtag SpaceX, and he had a picture of Elon Musk, I believe, sitting in some sort of control room with a headset on, probably during this launch. So Keith had a good chuckle at that. But, you know, it's interesting. Karma's a fascinating thing because while you were enjoying Elon Musk and your perception of his failure with that launch yesterday, later in the afternoon, it all came crashing down on those in news and sports media that used to love the fact that they had that verified blue check mark, that badge of honor that they could sit there and say, and this is in the free era of Twitter where you didn't have to pay for something like a blue check mark. Well, all of a sudden, they all woke up yesterday or they got up after lunch and they looked at their Twitter feed and their check marks were gone. Oh, no, my blue check mark is gone. God. Yes. And the thing I noticed, and you know how anytime we have a political or social conversation, and it almost seems like the Democrats all read from the same talking points. Like when they had COVID, right? Every left winger that got COVID said, tested positive for COVID, feeling very good, mild symptoms, grateful to be vaxxed, could be worse, right? They all say the same thing.
Yep.
So they were all doing the same thing yesterday on Twitter, basically letting us all know we're fine. Everything's going to be okay. I lost my blue check mark, but it's still me. It's not a parody account. It's not a bot. I'm still here. I got to tell you, and people that I actually like, that I've worked with in sports media, but you know, politics aside, maybe we disagree on that. I legitimately wanted to DM all of them or text them if I had their number still and just say, I don't, and this is not just me, nobody gives a flying you-know-what about your blue check mark. What is the infatuation with that?
So I'm a little fuzzy on what happened.
Okay.
Why did all the check marks go away?
Elon Musk originally said April 1st was the day.
Okay.
Then they pushed it off to April 20th, which was yesterday. So I believe a couple of months ago, when you could get the Twitter Blue subscription, you could sign up for the verified blue check mark, and I think it was like $8 a month. So I did that for, the sake of the show. Maybe we can get a certain guest on if they see a blue verified check mark, whatever. It's not that big of a deal, $8, $10, whatever it is. I think now it's up to like $13 a month or whatever it is. And, there used to be the blue verified check marks that people got, and it was very random. Like some people with like 1,000 followers that were like a producer for like KYW3 would get it, but then like some other talent with 50,000 followers would not get it. Well, now you can pay for it, and I think it's up to, like I said, somewhere between $12 and $14 a month, and now you can't differentiate between who's paying for it and who is like one of their verified legacy accounts. And now there's other colors too. Like I think a government official has like a gray check. I think there's like a gold check mark for some other category. And then there's a blue one. But a lot of these people that had their blue check mark were tweeting yesterday about how, well, I'm fine. Everything, life will go on and I'm not paying for it. And I think they're just having sour grapes because they hate Elon Musk now, because Elon Musk is making you pay for it. And Elon Musk has also restored many people on Twitter, minus Tony Bruno, back to being able to use their account because he believes in free speech. So I thought it was great yesterday. And I have no problem paying for it. Like, This is one of these things in life. If you want something, you'll pay for it. If you don't, that's fine. But is there any need to keep going on and bloviating endlessly about yourself and your blue check mark?
But I think Elon Musk is saying you're not special. And they're saying, well, I am special and I'm better than, those people, those commoners, because I am in my ivory tower. I'm a reporter at the New York Times. I do a public service.
Yes.
I tell people how to think. You know what I mean? And so I think they're outraged because he's saying, no, we're all the same. And yes, they will. I guess they will amend it if you work for the government or if you're an elected official, that sort of thing. They'll qualify you. But at the same time, he's saying he's kind of leveling that playing field.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yes. And it's just, to me, I just remember, when I was doing, and I would think this is the same, in news media, but the sports media with the blue check marks, like they used to, because think about where Twitter was, right? You had, these left-wing sports media members that get a blue check mark, and then they start tweeting about social justice and politics, and, Twitter was their little playground, and under Jack Dorsey, you would be shadow banned and blocked, and, Matt Taibbi's really shown us all the stuff that was going on behind the scenes with the previous regime at Twitter. And now the whole landscape has changed. You got to pay for your blue check. Conservatives are back on Twitter, and the left is melting down over it. And I think one of the things that Elon really likes is kind of this citizen community journalism concept. And because he knows that the mainstream media is bought and paid for, and you're not getting all the truth. You're getting slant, and you're getting what they want to give you. This was actually Elon Musk talking about just kind of the state of journalism, and he also references some of the Twitter stuff towards the end of this clip. Take a listen.
The same standard applies to everyone on Twitter, just as does on positive or negative.
So what do you do?
Same for everyone. Now the thing that a lot of traditional journalists don't like is they don't like being put on the same platform as the average citizen. They don't like their voice being the same. They're pretty mad about that.
Yes, there are several news organizations who don't like your push for democratization and what they believe is the devaluing of the badges because they were differentiated. So is that just a moment
That's
in
deliberate.
time? Is that just a moment in time?
No, that's deliberate. I think it's very important to elevate citizen journalism. I think it's very important to hear the voice of the people, the actual voice of the people, not the filtered voice of the people. And let the people choose the narrative, and let the people determine the truth, and not 5 editors-in-chiefs of major publications. Do you want to know what's really going on, or do you want their opinion? It's a handful of people. I think we want to know the voice of the people, the true voice of the people.
I think he's really talking about kind of the dissemination of information and taking off all the filters. And to your point, Dawn, from a journalist standpoint, I think this is exactly what you were just alluding to.
Yeah, this is a good thing. And by the way, right now it just so happens to impact the so-called mainstream media, the more liberal media. But ultimately, it's a universal message.
Right.
And, it's what strikes me about what Elon Musk just said. Think about what he said. Only an elite few have been trying to control the narrative. I could apply that same sort of algorithm to only a few have been controlling, for example, the crime wave that we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same kind of concept.
Yep.
If you allow them to be in that culture and to exist, it's just going to continue on and on. You have to interrupt that flow and make a strong statement and say, no, zero tolerance for this.
Mm-hmm. Well said.
I think people put too much stock as well in the blue check mark thing.
Oh, yeah.
We had this discussion earlier about where you get your news from.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. Twitter is basically an aggregate for you to get stories from wherever you want to get stories from, New York Times or Washington Times. You know, you can get anything on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
But to put this like, oh, democracy is dying, and how will I know if this is a true story? Because of, I don't know, do your own research.
Right.
Like, stop relying on. That's the problem, is we rely too much on these people that we don't know to tell us what they think is going on.
That's correct. And you have so many of these people that are just sharing and that's what the left does. There's one train of thought and everybody adopts it, and they just use the same talking points. So it's well said. 7:47, it's a Friday morning, and it's time for What's on the Cut Sheet.
What's on the cut sheet?
What's on the cut sheet on this Friday is brought to you by our good friends at Cherry Hill Volvo, where relationships matter. Cherry Hill Volvo strives to do is right. They work hard to match you with the perfect Volvo and always go the extra mile for their customers. Judith Yosef and the entire team look forward to meeting you. Check them out on Route 70 at Cherry Hill. Cherry Hill Volvo, where relationships matter. Thank you, Cherry Hill Volvo, for sponsoring the Friday edition of What's on the Cut Sheet. We spent a lot of time, Nick, Dawn, speaking yesterday of that 84-year-old man who shot the 16-year-old African-American child. I'm sorry?
Ralph.
Yeah,
Ralph Yarl.
Ralph Yarl. He is making a recovery, which all is good. A lot of people blaming a lot of people are attracted to this story because of the white guy and young black teenager. So that didn't stop CNN, Don Lemon, from taking the grandson of the man who shot Ralph Yarl, saying his grandfather is a racist because he's an American Christian male who watches Fox News.
Oh,
we were waiting for this, weren't we?
Of course.
We were waiting for what his political beliefs were to seep into this conversation, which is really what the media loves.
Yep.
Do you believe your grandfather is racist?
It's unbelievable.
I believe he holds racist tendencies and beliefs.
Why do you say that?
Don't you love serious Don Lemon?
Oh, yes.
Do you believe your grandfather is a racist? Yes,
Right.
I do. Great.
Right.
Let's keep going with this.
Let's keep pounding away.
It's unbelievable.
Is there any more?
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear him.
He's just a stock American Christian male. It's older, that's just how they are. It's the conspiracies and weird random racist things they say and it doesn't make sense, but they're just scared.
Now, listen, you're generalizing a lot here about, you said older Christian white males, but
Thanks, Don.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean they're scared? Talk to me more, please.
Talk to me.
Yeah, it's just I feel like a lot of people of that generation are caught up in this 24-hour news cycle of fear and paranoia perpetuated by some other news stations. And he was fully into that, sit and watch Fox News all day, every day, blaring in his living room. And I think that stuff really kind of reinforces this negative view of minority groups and leads people to be doesn't necessarily lead people to be racist, but it reinforces and galvanizes racist people and their beliefs.
So if you're tracking at home, folks, and if you're listening and you're a white Christian male, you are racist, according to Mr. Lester's grandson. It's interesting, when this came out, there were many other people that had this breaking, I don't know if it's breaking, but it was a report that a second grandson of Andrew Lester has come forward and disagrees with his brother's interview on CNN, saying that his grandfather would not have fired his gun without provocation.
Yeah, I mean, look, CNN was just looking for that angle. So they were like, hey, kid, you want to say this? And they're like, yes.
Yeah. And they wonder why they're getting tripled up by Fox News and doubled up by MSNBC. They go for the most low-hanging fruit. And like you would think that maybe, just maybe, they get away from the clickbait, race bait stuff, but with Don Lemon, I mean, that's his wheelhouse.
Well, I would like to know this 6-year-old girl in North Carolina and her parents who were shot for kicking a ball into this gentleman's yard. It was was an African American shot at this white girl and her parents.
Yep.
I would like to know his history. I would like to know if what he watches on TV. Does he watch MSNBC? Is he worried about white males, causing an insurrection?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I would like to know all of these things. If we're going to go down these roads, then we better dig into every single person who commits a crime.
Yep.
We better dig into their past.
Well, you saw exactly the pivot from the mainstream media for the Nashville school shooting. Once it was deemed that it was not a right-wing Trump-supporting conspiracy theorist, it was, okay, so it's somebody that's gone through a transition. Let's actually make the LGBTQ plus community to be the victim here, right?
Yep.
Not the 6 kids or the 3 adults and the kids that got killed. And also, have you noticed, too, about the Alabama shooting? Very minimal discussion about that because a mass shooting with, 4 dead and 32 injured. Do you know who the shooters were?
No.
They were African Americans.
Interesting.
But guaranteed in the state of Alabama, which is a big Trump country, if these were white teenagers, it would be covered entirely differently.
Well, think about it. So you have the story, and I was looking at the way BBC covers it. I'm always fascinated by a worldview. So they start out by saying driving up the wrong road, approaching the wrong car, losing a ball in a neighbor's yard, and they look at like the American cultural violence from their viewpoint, where they have this strict gun control, right? But you think about Philadelphia. How come Philadelphia last night, within less than 24 hours, had all these crazy shootings?
Yep.
You have a 16-year-old dead. You have a 12-year-old hospitalized. You have a group of teens, young teens, shooting up a FedEx, piercing through the windshield. So, but depending on the ethnicity of the kids or the shooters, all of a sudden it gets covered or it doesn't get covered.
That was the theme of the big take yesterday. And I think that these outlets, when it doesn't hit the narrative that they seek out, let's just chalk it up as urban decay.
Yep.
It's the inner city. Those things happen.
I just, maybe this guy watched mainstream media news and heard stories about people posing as delivery drivers, ringing somebody's doorbell and trying to, break into their house. That happened right here in Abington or one of the Montgomery County suburbs. Maybe he watched stuff like that. I'm not justifying what this guy did.
No.
Far from it.
It's horrifying.
He may have been a racist. I have no idea. It doesn't, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
No.
If he committed a crime, he should be punished for it.
Yep.
The end.
Yep.
What he watched, what he listened to, what movies may have, maybe he was watching a John Wayne movie. Who knows?
You might have been watching Hondo.
It's ridiculous to go down and they only do this in certain stories, not others.
That's with a lot of these highly covered legal cases, it is so difficult these days to kind of keep all the emotion and the narratives and the media slant coverage out of it. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is the facts. And, but that stuff can kind of seep into a case, into a courtroom. And then once that does, then we lose the rule of law.
And CNN just salivating over the fact that this guy may have been a Fox News viewer.
I'm Don Lemon, and you will respect me. You will watch me.
He's so vomitous. Is that a word? I'm sorry.
But I think that, thank God in this case, the 16-year-old Ralph Yarl, thank God he survived.
Yep.
The fact that story, and it's horrifying to imagine that, shooting through the glass at a kid knocking on the door, that's horrifying in and of itself. But he survived, thank God. In the case of Kayal Gillis, She was in a driveway, half a mile, a long driveway, shot and killed. The homeowner shot at the vehicle, killed this 20-year-old girl. That's not making as big a headline.
Right.
And because why? She's white, the homeowner's white.
Mm-hmm.
So that to me really illustrates the craziness of CNN doing this story. And what I find fascinating, I mean, they're going after Fox on that one because they don't have Trump anymore.
Yep.
So now they're just going to, they want to take down a competitor.
Right.
To me, that's evil to take that turn and blame news coverage and try to go there when you have zero facts backing that up.
It's funny now that the complete, total opposite ends of the spectrum here with Fox News. You know, the CNN viewer and what you're just mentioning, oh, blame it on Fox News. He must be a Fox News watcher. And yet the hardcore Fox News watchers and the real staunch conservatives are now at the point of, oh, Fox News isn't even conservative anymore. They're mainstream.
Well, I just, Dawn, as a journalist, if you're Don Lemon, Nick, you said that the other grandson is coming out and saying that what this kid is saying is not true.
Wouldn't have done it unless there was provocation.
As a news person, don't you have to make some disclaimers as well? You're whatever the other grandson says that this account is not true. Like, don't you have some sort of responsibility to say that?
Yeah, or disclaimer.
I think the question, when you're doing an interview like that, you have to get to the detail. By the way, it makes a better interview. So, for example, the alleged, the shooter, the guy the elderly man who's charged now, his ex-wife came out. So there was a divorce, and she's making all kinds of claims. So there's a divorce situation, and there's a family split going on. Mm-hmm. So my question, if I'm tasked with interviewing this person, what I would say is, so when's the last time you visited your grandfather?
Yeah.
Number one. If he says, well, I'm in my 20s, and actually I haven't seen him for 15 years, but my perception, now you're talking about perceptions. So that's a specific, detailed question I need. When's the last time you visited with your grandpa? When is the last time you sat with him and watched Fox News with him?
Mm-hmm.
And then what was he saying? He was making racial slurs? What was he saying specifically? If he has not spent any time with his grandpa within the past, once a year, that's something different. If he visits him every Sunday and sits with him, then that tells you a lot, right? That then verifies some of this. If he can't come up, if he says, well, I've actually never heard him make a racial slur.
Mm-hmm.
Well, have you talked about, racial issues with him? I would want more details because it sounds to me like his perception is that basically old people, and especially senior citizens or old white men, in general, are racist people or something.
Jeez,
it
Dawn
seems like his perception.
Here. Dawn Stensland using context and nuance and facts and wow,
what a sin.
I thought we just live in a world where we just rush to judgment and say, white guy must be racist.
And by the way, if he could have said if he had asked those questions, and he had said, "Oh, just last 2 weeks ago, I visit him every Sunday after church."
Mm-hmm.
And 2 weeks ago, and he said the N-word, and he said, then you say, whoa, maybe there is something to this.
Right.
But he's not giving any specifics, which tell me there are not those specifics. It's horrifying enough that a man shot through a glass door.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really need to have anything more than that?
Yeah.
Specifics don't matter to the left. It's just fear, emotion, and narrative.
Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg testifies before the House Appropriations Committee yesterday. Let's start with Mayor Pete Buttigieg saying that we roughly see as many traffic deaths in America as gun deaths every year.
As you know, we see roughly as many traffic deaths in America as gun deaths every year. That's why the president's budget includes $3.1 billion for the Highway Safety Improvement Program and Advanced Safety Research Initiatives.
Time to ban cars.
Yes. Well, we gotta have a lockdown of vehicles now, and plus it'll help with zero emission. It'll be great for the climate.
I mean, don't you think that is a push, right? Don't you guys think?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, what he's not saying, I will just point out to you, so I'm looking up car deaths, 46,000 people die in car crashes every year. What he doesn't say in that is that half of the gun deaths are suicide.
Right.
And so that goes to the mental health crisis.
Mm-hmm.
We can talk about homelessness, veterans, and homelessness with the economy. But half of the gun deaths in America are self-harm, are suicide. When do we talk about that issue?
Mm-hmm. Well, because they only want you to know about the ones that involve violence and mass shootings, because that's all the agenda-driven nonsense to take firearms away from you.
He also blames transportation problems with climate change.
Of both profound challenge and historic opportunity for U.S. transportation. On one hand, our transportation systems are still grappling with the consequences of the pandemic, climate change, and decades of disinvestment.
Wow, we're still blaming the pandemic, huh, Nick?
Yeah, it's remarkable in April of 2023, as most of us have been well moved on from COVID, that this bumbling administration still uses COVID as an excuse, whether it's the economy or it's something nonsensical as we're talking about right now with vehicles.
Pardon me, I have to clarify myself. I misspoke. Because I'm looking at Pew Research, 54%. I said about half. 54% of gun deaths are suicide.
Okay. So more deaths come by self-infliction and then as opposed to the alternative.
I would also like to see how many of those gun deaths are intercity gang-related deaths and what the makeup and the breakdown is of race, ethnicity, all that other stuff too. Representative De La Rua?
Oh, Rosa. Yeah, this is Anthony Dorenzo's favorite little old lady up in Connecticut.
She's up in Connecticut. She praises Secretary Buttigieg for working to ensure that female dummies are used in vehicle crash tests.
Female dummies?
Female, like those crash test dummies.
Oh, so they come with genders now?
Yes, because, there's...
We put like a wig and a skirt on the dummy?
The crash test dummy is normally a male. I don't assume anybody's gender. Right. I assume they're male.
Can we have non-binary crash dummies?
Well, yeah. I mean...
What about
have we checked their?
Do we have trans? Is the trans crash test dummy a movement now?
Can you imagine this being a talking point?
You also plan to make important investments to address the roadway safety crisis, including the critical funding that would accelerate the development. And this is an area I've written to you about of the use of female dummies in crash testing. This will start to fight the gender inequity among vehicle safety and crash victims.
Well, if we want to use a female dummy for crash testing, can't we just put AOC in the vehicle?
No, come on.
Oh, that's a different kind of dummy. My fault.
That's not right.
So are we really throwing genders on plastic inflatable dolls?
Well, I think to be fair, I think her point is that...
Size.
When they test for size,
okay.
but does it need to... I mean, can't you just have a test dummy that mimics a lady?
Right. Can't you just put, so what's the average?
That's a great question.
I'm actually going to Google this as I talk this out, but I would like to know what the average weight of a male is and the average weight of a female. I'm going to say the average male weight is 175 pounds and the average female weight is 132 pounds. Why don't we just grab a 175-pound sack of potatoes, stick it in the vehicle, smash that thing into a wall, and then we get the 132-pound sack of potatoes and smash that baby into a wall? Why do we got to have genders on freaking dummies?
Average height in the United States, and remember we have gotten smaller because of immigration.
Right.
So the average height in the United States, 5'4" for women as far as height, 5'9" for men.
Okay.
So 5'4" for women.
Okay, I got the weights here, courtesy of Dorenzo. Now these seem high. The average man weighs 197.9 pounds. The average female weighs 170.6. If that
is 5'4",
if these are true, if this is true, we do have an obesity problem in this country. Is that right? The average woman is 171 pounds.
Anthony, chime in here. Where did you get this?
Yeah, what's your sourcing here?
Yeah, thank you, Dawn.
After 2 Klondike bars? What are we talking about
This
here?
is according to Healthline.com.
Okay, I've been to Healthline.com for stuff. Relatively
this is specifically for America, so yeah, that's not a good look for us at all.
Jesus, you are right. COVID made us fat.
yeah, we're obese at this point. And this car thing, these people, if you've ever driven in Connecticut, There's no car inequity. People drive like maniacs, and the cops need to pull more people over. That's
Why
all
are you
this
talking
is.
about Connecticut? This is Philadelphia.
No,
Have you
Rosa
seen
Dolores
Lincoln Drive
from
or
there.
the Schuylkill?
Well, that's true too. That's true. But all this
The
driving
Schuylkill
stuff.
Expressway has been labeled one of the most dangerous highways in the USA.
My bigger concern is that the average female weighs 50 pounds more than Daniel Valdez. Dude, you gotta start eating some carbs, brother. Holy smokes!
Let him weigh in here. Sorry, Daniel. Do you have anything to say about your wimpy frame?
I just got a high metabolism.
Blame it on the metabolism.
He's also 21 years old. He's going to be like,
22, let's get it right.
And Valdez, how much?
Just turned 22.
Valdez,
We
you weigh about $125.
Yeah, you can say that.
All right.
We all looked that way at 21, 22, didn't we?
What, $125?
I don't know.
I was
wasn't that
$125
skinny.
when I was like 13.
Moving on. O.J. Simpson weighs in.
Oh, the juice.
Uh-oh.
He weighs in on politics.
Oh.
So would you like to hear how the juice feels about what's happening in our political system?
OJ taking a stab in politics.
No,
I like
that's
this.
not right.
All right, let's see it.
Trolling everybody as he's, by the way, his background, I can see the pool that he's sitting by in the reflection in his sunglasses. So,
And this is a cut of OJ, correct?
yeah, living the high life.
Okay, let's hear the cut of OJ.
Hey, Twitter world, it's me, yours truly. Well, like most mornings, I'm scrolling the TV, and I gotta say, something irked me today. And it's all about Hunter Biden. I'm going to be honest with you. I could care less about...
Notice the...
Couldn't.
Notice the...
I got to correct OJ on the grammar. That's bad.
Notice the sirens in the background.
Yeah.
I wonder if OJ is used to hearing those sirens.
That's correct.
Sorry.
Hunter Biden. If he did something wrong, the IRS is going to get him or somebody else is going to get him. But for Congress and the Senate, I don't think the average taxpayer cares about Hunter Biden any more than they cared about Billy Carter or even the Donald's daughter doing business in China. Who cares? Spending taxpayers' dollars on that, I think it's kind of wrong. And another thing, what's going on?
I'm just saying, take care.
Oh, man.
It's interesting. He says, if Hunter Biden has done something wrong, well, then the IRS will get him. Yeah, that's OJ's legal logic. Trust me, when high-ranking family members of a president do something wrong, justice will be served. He's not paying attention to the news, obviously. But this is interesting because he does say about the pettiness of politics. And when he mentions Hunter Biden there or Trump's kid or anybody else, I don't totally disagree because I'm going to take a phrase out of Greg Stocker's playbook here.
It's always dangerous.
Maybe the average American does not care about Hunter Biden as much as we in the media and us living in our little bubble of obsessive politics care about it. Is he onto something there?
Yes.
Like, yes, we talk about it and we live it because we're in the weeds. But like, if you're just your average everyday tax-paying American, do most people even follow the Hunter Biden story?
No,
I don't know that they do.
Yeah, no, it does. It only moves the needle for hardcore Republicans who want to see justice being done. Or who really follow the news. 99% of people don't follow the news like that. So, yes, he is onto something.
How about that? A little OJ political commentary.
More from OJ.
On in Florida. When I went to USC, first time I went to Disneyland in Anaheim was when we were playing in the Rose Bowl. Indiana, we were playing against them and us. We had a day at Disneyland, and it was terrific. It was so exciting. And I was like 20 years old, right? So,
he's not how can I say this politely? He's not the brightest guy in the world, is he?
Yeah, he's not the sharpest knife in the drawer.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You notice the laugh mid-sentence?
Yeah.
That's a trait from Kamala. It's that all of a sudden this unsolicited laugh that comes out. I don't do that when I talk, so I can't explain why people do that.
Years later, I was able to take my younger kids to Disney World, and man, they had such a great time. And
I wonder if Nicole went with him.
Oh. No, Ron Goldman was there, though.
Oh, man.
How dare they?
That's not right.
To see all of the people there, all the kids having a great time. We went to Universal, we went to Pleasure Island, and now somebody's threatening to put a prison there, a prison complex there. Why? Why would you do that?
Somebody should hire him for a talk show.
I agree.
Don't you think?
You can pair him. Well, Alec Baldwin had his case dismissed.
Yeah.
And we know Alex got a background in doing talk radio. We get a Baldwin and Simpson podcast.
Oh my God!
You think you could air that Saturdays at 3?
I could, yeah. Although I'm partial to the show we have there right now. So
I studied the whole thing in Orange County at USC, the whole curriculum for public
curriculum.
Anyway,
curriculum.
Colloquy.
Oh man!
Hey, Twitter world, yours truly here.
Gee, this is
it's the juice.
Oh man! You get away with murder. You just put your head in the sand.
Yeah.
Say, hey, I got away with one,
Uh-huh.
and go live the charmed life that you've lived for your entire life.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Administration was the Epcot program, what they were building in Central Florida. And it was fascinating, the contracts that they had to sign with the county and the state and what they had to do. And they brought so much business in what was basically a lot of swampland. So I don't know what the fight is, really is, between the governor, DeSantis, and Disney. But don't make the world suffer because of it, because Disney World, Disneyland, even European Disney, I guess, belongs to the children of the world.
The children of the world.
well, if you had OJ as DeSantis' running mate, you can scratch that one off, folks.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I just.
He posts those. He has videos like this almost. I don't know, 2-3 times a week.
He's just trolling everybody.
Yep. His whole Twitter feed is videos. He doesn't actually tweet. They're always video posts.
I know.
He's always sitting in his little gated golf community in Las Vegas.
Just living the good life, just with a giant middle finger to the entire country, being like, hey.
Yeah. All he does is play golf.
Yep.
Watch cable news.
Mm-hmm.
And play fantasy sports. He's actually a lot like me.
Minus the chopping your wife's head off.
Yeah.
No. I'm just saying.
Get
him some other way. A prison complex next to Disney World? You got to be kidding.
They should have thrown you in that prison complex next to Disney World.
I got to say this. In this world of new media where everybody's got a podcast, everybody has a platform, people are looking for different stuff. If I was running some sort of oddball operation, and I don't even know what that would be, I mean, say what you want, but he's a free man right now, and he's got thoughts. I would employ him.
I would too.
I really would.
I mean, look, I have absolutely no morals. I would.
I know. Because I'm telling you, he would attract an audience.
Yes, he would. He would. Absolutely.
Regardless of how you feel about him or what he did and didn't do, the whole bit. I mean, I'm telling you right. I would bet this. He'd get better numbers than Don Lemon.
That's what Chris Lick should do.
I know.
The OJ show.
He's trying to give Charles Barkley a show, for God's sakes. And we have Juice and Chuck.
No, Charles Barkley is good.
Agreed.
OJ, no.
No. Just give him like a 30-minute no commercial show and let him just ramble.
OJ, Poppy, and Caitlin. Come on, who wouldn't tune in for that?
Come on.
Two young, attractive women that
Yes.
OJ can flirt with and then maybe kill one day.
Pair him with Jake Tapper. Jake and the Juice. Their ratings can't be any lower.
Jake and the Juice.
Jake and the Juice.
I love this. Let's come up with some ideas for new O.J. Simpson CNN shows.
I'd be an incredible brand manager. I'd be throwing all kinds of concoctions together.
CNN at prime time, O.J.
Yes.
OJ and Andrea. Andrea Mitchell. OJ and Kamala.
Oh. I'm telling you, they both have the nervous laugh.
Yeah.
Can we highlight the OJ mid sentence laugh?
Hang on.
When you get a chance, I just want to kind of do a compare and contrast.
I don't think the average taxpayer cares about Hunter Biden.
Hang on.
Daniel and Anthony, I'm going to need OJ's laugh isolated. It's going to be a drop. We're going to use that.
Man. Speaking of laughing, speaking of Kamala Harris, let's go to her next, shall we?
Yes.
She was on the Jennifer Hudson show.
Okay.
She has a daytime show. Did you ever wonder what she's going to do when her time in politics ends, Nick Kayal, Don Senslin?
No, I have not contemplated that, actually.
Well, she has, and this is what she plans to do.
And it is part of my, one day I'm going to write a cookbook, but I've started to actually write my recipes because the kids, my husband will always say, why don't you write down your recipes? Yeah. And I've realized I probably should start doing that. The family joke is that if somebody asks me for the recipe, I'll just say, well, it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Cooking with Kamala.
There's another CNN show.
There you go.
Cooking with OJ and Kamala.
We could fill out their whole evening lineup in about 20 minutes. Cooking with Kamala. She doesn't use a gas stove either.
No.
Because she likes these things.
I love electric school buses.
Could you imagine her with a live cooking show with a studio audience? And she's like, I love the air fryer. And she starts giggling.
They brought out a young person in there so she could speak to the youth.
Right.
And she said this to this sweet little boy that had no idea what he was doing, but was brought out by his parents to talk to the vice president. She said this to him.
Don't hear no, because you know my saying? I eat no for breakfast. I eat no for breakfast.
She eats no for breakfast, Nick.
Well, that explains a lot of her speeches because breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And she's
Zero carbs and no.
Yeah.
She's not eating eggs and pancakes.
Good. Is that part of the keto diet? No.
I had no for breakfast. The most important meal of the day. That's how you get off on the wrong foot, folks. They've been telling us for years, breakfast matters.
J HUD, as she's known, Jennifer Hudson, J HUD.
J HUD.
That's what they call her.
Right.
Asked the Veep, by the way, all these hard-hitting questions. Mm-hmm. What do you miss most about your old life, before she got into politics?
Yeah.
What do you miss most about your old life?
Well, we used to take nice, quiet walks. I love The Godfather. The movie's The Godfather. And there's one, have you watched The Godfather?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you know that one scene after Michael is at the restaurant and then he has to leave New York because he's got to get away, and he goes to Italy, and then he's courting this young woman, and they're taking this wonderful walk, and the shot is on just the two of them taking a wonderful walk, and then the shot pans out and the whole village is on the walk with them. Oh my God, that's sometimes what it's like if Doug and I take a walk together.
Kamala, what do you miss most about your old life? I miss prosecuting criminals and locking people up because our administration and across the country, we let people out of jail these days.
You wonder why society is so dumb? That's daytime TV.
Yes.
Oh, my Lord.
Now you see why I take a nap.
Well, the rest of us are working.
Yes. Steven says on Twitter, Cackle Cookbook. Can you imagine every time you turn the page, it'll cackle like a children's sound book?
I love that idea.
And it is part of my, one day I'm going to write a cookbook, but I've started to actually write my recipes because.
She wants to write her recipes down.
Yeah. The Kamala Cackle Cookbook.
Man.
Available on Amazon.
I mentioned this clip earlier. This was MSNBC, Andrea Mitchell's show. She and her guest, Eugene Daniels from Politico, tying GOP protecting women's sports to trans suicides. You mentioned that earlier, Nick, about how no Democrats voted to protect women's sports.
Nope. 203 all said no.
Well, this is leading to trans kids committing suicide, according to Eugene Daniels.
When you talk to these advocates, this is what they're worried about. And most importantly, they're worried about the numbers, the vast numbers, disproportionate numbers of young trans people who either kill themselves or feel scared living in this country where you have folks trying to pass bills like this. And so it's red meat for the base. It's not going to go anywhere. And also, it'll be interesting how the politics of this plays out in general elections, right? People don't typically have not gone to the ballots in strong ways against transgender people. That is something that Republicans have been trying to do, but it doesn't seem like it's going to work. So how they do that as we move forward in a presidential, when you have Democrats painting this Republican Party as extremist and pretty extreme on this issue in particular.
Susan, I don't know if you want to take on this, if you have a take on how this plays in a general election. Because unlike abortion and other issues, other cultural issues that like Ron DeSantis is trying to play up in Florida, this issue, I'm not sure has the constituency.
I agree with her statement there, by the way, at the end. That this does not resonate with... I don't think that this is an issue, and I know Dawn probably disagrees with me on this. I don't see this as an issue, the trans issue, as getting people to the ballot box.
In regards to the left pandering to the trans community and getting their vote?
Yes.
Because I said I did my big take last week that, if Roe v. Wade worked against the Republicans in the midterms, I've tried to make the case that with conservatives trying to protect women's sports, that this reopens the door a little bit for conservatives to maybe get some of those females to vote for them.
I think that if we're talking women's issues, this doesn't move the needle, but a 6-week abortion ban does.
Okay.
And that's why it's important that the media keeps describing what happened yesterday with the House Republicans as a ban, instead of reporting it for what it's called, which is protecting girls' rights and the rights of women, biologically born women and girls, protecting their rights to fairness and equality in sports.
Oh, kind of similar to like the Don't Say Gay bill, even though there's nothing in it that says you can't say the word gay.
Yeah. So the fact, this is one of those things, the problem we talked about, we alluded to this earlier. This is one of those things that, I think the issue of protecting girls and athletes and their rights, I think it does resonate with parents, but I don't think it's one of those things that shows up in the polls. And the problem, to Greg's point, is that the other issue, this abortion issue, and I know that today we're supposed to get the mifepristone ruling from the Supreme Court with that so-called abortion pill, which accounts for half of those procedures. So that in the headlines, I think, has a bigger impact, as we found out.
I agree.
We got a tweet from Eric the Red. He says, how about a show with Don Lemon and O.J. Simpson? It will be called Lemon Juice.
Don, you better keep your mouth closed.
By the way, we're streaming live right now on YouTube at 1210 WPHT. I believe the boys told us we're at 1531 subscribers right now. So I would love to keep that going. If you're watching right now, thank you. If you're not, at 1210 WPHT on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and hit that little bell there to alert you whenever we go live.
That is correct.
One
more?
Maybe we can get 1,600 by the end of
why are you going to get greedy?
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
You see, folks, you see what we deal with here?
Is that what you deal with?
No, I don't deal with much, really.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams wants to cut the city's meat consumption as part of his new carbon reduction plan.
Salads for everybody.
Here is New York City Mayor Eric Adams speaking about this yesterday.
All food is not created equal. The vast majority of food that is contributing to our emission crises lies in meat and dairy products. That a plant-powered diet is better for your physical and mental health, and I am living proof of that. But the reality is that thanks to this new inventory, we're finding out it is better for the planet.
Oh, it's better for the planet. So it's not really so much about you. It's about climate change and protecting the planet. You know what I'm going to do when I get home today?
Oh, no.
I'm going to grill up a ribeye.
Here we go.
Give myself a nice glass of 2% milk. I'm going to sit down on my little patio before the weekend begins. I'm going to have some red meat, some dairy. How about that? How about that, Eric?
After the volunteer day.
That's correct. After I'm done picking weeds.
Picking up garbage.
We're beautifying Fairmount Park, which
Yeah.
last time I was there, it needed it.
Well, I was told to wear long pants and long sleeves so I don't, get jabbed by anything.
It's gonna be 90 degrees today.
I know. The email says we suggest comfortable shoes, pants to protect your legs, sleeves, gloves will be provided, which is nice.
A plant-powered diet is better for your physical and mental health, and I am living proof of that. Mayor Eric Adams.
Or you can just do both. Or you could just, a thing called moderation.
I feel, and this is coming from somebody who doesn't eat meat.
Mm-hmm.
I think that as long as you eat real food, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I think so too.
Just cut out the processed crap.
Yeah.
Eat real food, whether that's vegetables or meat or whatever, and you'll be fine.
I had a great dinner last night. I had 3 chicken breasts. I put on the grill with a little lemon pepper garlic marinade. I had a nice salad. I know chicken, not technically beef or red meat. I get that. But, you can do both.
3 chicken breasts?
Yeah, well, they were thin.
Okay.
What, you have commentary?
No, I'm just
concerns.
It's a lot of meat.
Well,
brother.
they were almost like cutlets.
Okay.
Yeah, they were boneless, skinless. I wouldn't say they were chicken cutlets, but they were, it was like about a pound and 10 ounces for the 3 pieces. Housed all 3 of them.
It's good. Dawn, since we're talking, what did you have for dinner last night?
Well, I'm doing this no carb thing, so chicken and green beans. Sorry,
Right.
I'm very boring.
I had chicken and salad, so we're on the same page, Dawn.
I had a grain bowl, quinoa with avocados, hard-boiled eggs, tomatoes.
Nice.
And a little bit of homemade, just a little bit of homemade, it's like this aioli sauce that my wife makes.
It was basically like a poke bowl without any fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I had some chocolate covered pretzels because I was still
because it was so unsatisfying.
When we talk about mass illegal immigration that is happening under Joe Biden, the real issue, Nick, Dawn, is going to be, it's coming from Representative Jayapal. She asks, who will clean our homes?
Wait. I'm sorry, what?
What?
This country needs immigrants to survive. Immigrants pick the food we eat, rebuild our communities after climate disasters, help construct our infrastructure, power our small business economy, clean our homes, and look after the most precious in our families, our children and our elders.
You hear that?
Clean our homes?
Yeah. So basically, they pick crops.
Yeah.
There are nannies and there are housekeepers.
And they cut my grass.
Talk about
racist.
I mean,
wow.
And who was that said that?
Jayapal.
Okay.
Representative Jayapal. She's a member of the squad.
Oh, so she's a squad dem.
She's a squad dem.
Okay,
yeah.
But if that would have came out of a Republican from Kentucky's mouth,
yep.
I mean that squad dem would have had a coronary.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's come out of somebody's mouth.
Oh,
if that would have come out of somebody's
Grammar's
mouth. Right.
Grammar.
Anyway.
Ding 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 ding.
Not came, come.
Yeah, I got you.
I said nothing.
No, I'm just saying.
Dawn,
I'm
you better
correcting.
keep your mouth closed.
I'm correcting your grammar.
I
It's not
did, I
came.
kept it
It's not came. It's come.
Well, now that we've created the YouTube page, the comments section on there can correct me as well. Lots of ways to correct us. See, you can consume the show and correct the show in a litany of ways, folks. We truly do value free speech on this station.
We really, really, really do. Let me just blow through 2 more, and then we'll get to Dawn.
Yeah.
You were discussing earlier this IRS whistleblower, Nick Kayal.
Mm-hmm.
So KJP was asked about this and the president's reaction to it, and this is what she said.
The question is, an IRS special agent wants whistleblower protection. Talk about an investigation of Hunter Biden's taxes. What is the White House's message to employees who wonder if there should be political considerations when things affect the president's family?
So look, I want to be very clear here.
Take this
as you know, the
seriously.
president respects the rule of law. And the independence of the Department of Justice. He believes that's what they should be. In this administration, we believe that it should be independent. So I'm not going to go beyond that. The Department of Justice will certainly deal with this issue. Again, he believes in the rule of law. He believes in the independence of the Justice Department.
Thanks, Green. I know you just follow up on that. I know you won't comment on the investigation, but is the president confident that his attorney general has upheld all the ethical obligations here when it comes to this investigation?
Again, the president has always been clear during the campaign, during his presidency, that the Department of Justice should have independence. They should not be politicized, and they should be able to do their job independently, essentially. And so I'll leave it to them. I'll leave it to the Department of Justice to make their decision to move forward with this particular case. We're just not going to comment from here. I know actually my colleagues from the White House counsel's office actually put out a statement on this and addressed this more specifically. But again, I would refer to the Department of Justice or anything else.
Or she could have said this.
I would refer you to the White House counsel.
The White House counsel. Talking to her is like talking to a brick wall. You just get stonewalled on everything with just cliched answers of not go. I'm not going to get into that. What's the point of the binder if you only say one thing?
Yeah, I mean, or knowing that it's going to be. I understand there are things she can't comment on.
Of course,
every press secretary is like that. There are things they can't comment on. But what normally they do is they bring out people, maybe from the DOJ, who can comment on it if it's a big news story. So that is something that she can do. One more. So we talked about EVs earlier, and a lot of the raw materials for the new EVs, like the batteries, Dawn has reported on it. They're mined in China, right? So what is this? Does the administration have a concrete plan to ensure that those raw materials for these new EVs don't end up coming from China? I think it's a good question because we talk all the time about how we need to be independent and maybe the looming World War III that's coming. So this is her answer.
I'm going to follow up on the White House's proposal to mandate that 2/3 of all passenger vehicles by the year of 2032 be electric. It's a lot of batteries, obviously. So does the administration have a concrete plan to ensure that those raw materials for these new EVs, either through federal support or some type of motivation for the private sector, that those EVs don't end up coming from China and we don't become dependent on a foreign power that might not be friendly to us?
So here's what I can say. Every step that the president has taken is to build more here in America. That's every step that he's taken. To bring investments and jobs back to America, to build supply chains here in America, and that's what's happening. And already the private sector has invested more than $120 billion to build more electric cars and batteries here in America. And that is because that is what the president has wanted to do and put forth, and he wants to make sure, right, we are building here, right here in the United States.
As Joe has said, 2 words, made in America. 2 words.
You brought this up earlier, Nick. I know, Dawn, you have as well. It is interesting that an administration who may or may not have ties to China, may or may not have financial dealings with China.
Ties is one way to put it.
Making these EVs, making these push for EVs, and a lot of the parts and the batteries and all the important stuff that comes from there, mined in China.
Yes.
Just saying. I mean, it's...
But if Joe is a man of his word and he's going to stay with the theme, because basically right now, Joe's... I know the announcement's coming next week, but leading up to it, he's been going with this whole America first. He's basically been plagiarizing Trump.
Yep.
So if you're going to continue to do that and you're going to follow through with your actions, then I think, to your point, Greg, there's got to be a solution for independence and the production of that product here, domestically.
Yep. Well said.
But there won't be.
There won't be. YouTube.com/@1210WPHT. We're streaming live now. Hit the subscribe button.
Yeah, Yeti376 on YouTube says, "Morning Joe and the Juice." Scarborough and Simpson country.
I'm telling you. You and I, Nick, put on our branding hats, and we thought about a way to get some CNN viewers. OJ will do it.
Dawn, would you be the third leg on that show? You, Don Lemon, and OJ together on a 3-person panel?
Oh, sure.
Dawn, the
so
juice.
I can rip those two.
Dawn, the juice, and the lemon.
Yeah. I'd squeeze both of them.
Oh yeah, you
Good.
would. Yeah, you would.
Please do.
No, we want Dawn around for a long time. She can't be
right
in any room with O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, gun versus knife, gun always wins.
That's right. That's right.
Let us remind
you. He probably has guns too.
Yes. And as they once said, don't bring a knife to a gunfight. All right, 8:36. That'll do it for What's on the Cut Sheet. That lasted about an hour and 20 minutes there. And we'll swing it on over to Dawn Stensland because she's got 2 big threes coming up in about a 25-minute stretch. Here's round number 1.
It's the Big 3 at 8 on Kayal and Company.
Yeah, we are making national news, so I'll begin with this FedEx truck driver. Bullets barely missing this driver in Philadelphia, with bullets flying in Philadelphia and teens accused of being behind those bullets. That happened in the city's Lawncrest section of Philadelphia, under investigation. Bucks County, a big story that's happening as police officers beefed up in suburban Bucks County amid this threat. We don't have details on the threat. That's number 2. And number 3, as we look at grocery shopping, what's going on with the story that is making international news? A teen grocery store worker is accused of sneaking sewing needles into vegetables and individually wrapped Tasty Cake products at a Pennsylvania grocery store.
This is like those jerks that try to stick needles in candy at Halloween.
Well, we always say, oh, that story, that's a myth or that's an urban legend. This one is from Pennsylvania State Police.
This is true.
They say this is apparently an isolated incident. It all started with customers reporting that they found these sewing needles found in food that was bought at a Giant grocery store in Pennsylvania. Giant releasing a statement saying that teen employee was actually fired, and also saying that the safety of customers is top priority. So they fired this. This happened in Trexlertown in that store in Pennsylvania.
I know Trexlertown.
Yeah, that's down Route 100, right?
Yeah. So it was a lot of customers coming back in saying, hey, heads up. So they did actually release a statement saying if you bought groceries at that Giant in particular between April 13th and the 19th.
Sorry.
What?
No. That's what the thing would say. Sorry.
Yes. Oops.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. So they're now putting out the word out because there may still be, unfortunately, some folks who bought these products.
Wow.
So, yeah. Because it's kind of, we don't have word, thank God, of anybody getting injured. So good alert customers, but maybe an excuse not to eat the vegetables you bought. I don't know. But the Tasty Cakes, and they were wrapped.
Yeah, back to red meat we go.
I know, right?
Hey, Eric Adams, I'm going dairy, baby.
So they are investigating the teen grocery store employee. We don't have word what the heck was going on in this kid's head. Fired, facing criminal charges, obviously. But they have to put the word out and unfortunately watch for any copycat situations. And so the blanket statement goes out from really all the consumer agencies saying, you know what, if you buy something, especially if it's prepackaged and something doesn't look right and something's a little bit opened, you don't want to eat that. Take it back at a full refund. That is our big 3 on this beautiful Friday, eve of Earth Day. And as Rich Cioli points out, every single year, Earth Day started, the first one here in Philadelphia, by our Ira Einhorn, the killer, Zodiac killer.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to, point that out. Earth Day is technically tomorrow.
Okay.
I think Earth Day actually, I think that's why we go to Fairmount Park, right, Dawn?
Yes.
Because that's kind of where it
began
started.
in Philadelphia.
There was that big festival or
Yeah.
thing that happened by that killer who killed his girlfriend or something.
Yeah, Holly Maddox. It was a big, going back, it was one of my stories in 1997. I think that's when they finally brought him back in absentia.
Mm-hmm.
And the famous line, there was an anchor I won't mention who said, "Where's absentia?" on the news. Because he was convicted in absentia because he fled. But yeah, he murdered his He was this big so-called environmental guy, didn't have hygiene, didn't want to bathe, convinced the media that he believed in the environment, but was a domestic abuser, ultimately murdered Holly Maddox, hid her in a trunk in his closet.
Wow.
And it was ultimately District Attorney Lynn Abraham, good for her. She got him extradited back here. But he's from his brother. I interviewed his brother.
Yeah.
And Ira Einhorn just died during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is so creepy, but there is a story within that about the media narrative that because he was allegedly this hippie and loved the environment and he was, a Democrat, even back in the day, they gave him a pass.
Oh. Dems always get a pass, I guess.
Well, it just shows you biased media.
Oh, yeah.
Either way you look at it is never a good thing. Don't excuse anybody just because you agree with their politics.
Right. Well
look
said.
at the facts, look at the facts and investigate.
Okay. All right, coming up next, maybe the first domino has fallen post-Dominion. That story and more as we continue here. Kayal and Company, Talk Radio 1210, WPH.
free Odyssey app.
Download it now.
It is 8:46 on a Friday morning. It's Kayal and Company, Talk Radio 1210, WPHT. You can get us on the Odyssey app. You can get us on YouTube. Watch all 4 hours. Coming up 9:30 this morning, actually 9:35, I stand corrected. The Philly Fanatic, along with John Brazier, will be here because the Philly Fanatic is celebrating his birthday this Sunday, April 23rd, and we had John Brazier in studio with us last fall, I believe, 2 times during the Phillies' unexpected World Series run. And today, obviously, Brazier will be here because the Fanatic doesn't talk. So there's got to be somebody to talk to.
So John can Fanatic explain.
That's correct. And I'm actually seeing the Fanatic through our glass windows right now in one of our music stations down the hallway, which is very interesting.
Oh, boy.
I'm uncomfortable around mascots, I got to be honest.
Are you?
Yeah.
You have a mascot phobia?
A little bit.
Okay.
I had I forget what the mascot was, but when I was like 7 years old, it was like 1990 or 91, I think it was our kindergarten graduation, a mascot came and cracked an egg over my head. And since then, I've, I'm like Ace Ventura. I want to fight the dolphin.
We've just tapped into his psychological trauma from his youth.
Yes.
This is
scarred.
I look forward to hearing more from you in the next few years when we can really
evaluate whether or not you're going to keep me long term.
No.
I think a lot of kids are. I remember we went to Sesame Place when my boys were, little, and Big Bird.
Yep.
Sometimes those big furry, not so much. I think like the Fanatic and stuff like that. They saw at games and on TV, so it was more familiar. But it is scary.
Yeah.
I mean, even to the point of some of the shows,
like Bert and Ernie.
Yeah, but sometimes in person, they're it's a big furry character, and to a little kid, they're like, oh my gosh. So. I think sometimes they're a little creepy.
You think it would be a big hit if me and the Fanatic fought live via YouTube?
I think it could be embarrassing for you, so I wouldn't do it.
Probably. You're probably right.
Wow.
Wonder if he's got like a Phillies fitted hat. I could use a new fitted, to be honest.
She cuts you like a knife, doesn't she, Dawn? Dawn does.
Wow.
Sorry.
Another OJ reference. Nice. Very nice. So how about this? The first domino possibly to fall post-Dominion settlement. This was really big breaking news yesterday, and I was kind of blown away by this. Fox News host Dan Bongino officially out at Fox News in what many are saying is a stunner. Bongino said the following yesterday. Folks, regretfully, last week was my last show on Fox News on the Fox News channel. The host said on his podcast on Thursday, it's tough. It's tough to say that. I've been there doing hits and working for Fox News for 10 years, so the show ending was tough. And I want you to know it's not some big conspiracy. I promise you. There's no acrimony. This wasn't some WWE brawl that happened. We just couldn't come to terms on an extension. Fox News says, we thank Dan for his contributions and wish him success in his future endeavors. How about that? That's a big surprise.
So 2 things on this. And I have nothing against Dan Bongino because I don't know him. To be honest with you, I didn't even know he had a show on Fox News.
Really?
No.
Interesting.
But I will say this. There was a push when Rush Limbaugh died to have the successor for Rush Limbaugh. And where did everybody look? Podcasts. Like if you podcast, you can do 3 hours of radio.
Right.
That was the big talking point everywhere. Well, he has 10 million podcast followers, so those 10 million people will follow him to terrestrial radio.
Mm-hmm.
So Dan Bongino got one of the for the Cumulus stations. He did a 12 to 3 show during the Rush Limbaugh slot for the Cumulus stations.
Mm-hmm.
Then we heard a few months ago that once his contract is up for this, he's not going to do it anymore because 3 hours is is a lot.
Mhm.
And now this happens with Fox News. I'm always skeptical of the people who say, "Well, podcasting is you can do anything if you podcast." You really can't. Just because you're a famous podcaster doesn't mean you can, do a
1,000% agree.
talk show. Doesn't mean you can do a Fox News show. I'm just saying.
I think what we do is easy, but we've been doing it for a long time. I mean, I've been doing this now for 16 years. Greg, you've been doing it for close to 20?
Yeah.
Dawn, you've been in the media for far more years than I have. I think it's easy now, but for the average person, you sit there and you think, "Oh, well, I could easily get in front of the microphone and blah, blah, blah." You find out quickly, especially if you're doing like 4 hours a day. It's difficult to fill 15, 20 hours of content a week.
Especially by yourself.
Because
Dan Bongino is doing it by himself.
That's correct.
It is, with all due respect to Clay Travis and what's this guy's name, Buck Sexton.
Yeah, that dude's weird looking, by the way.
Buck is a
odd bird.
Buck's a radio guy, so
Mm-hmm.
Clay Travis is has had the popular podcast as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know if those shows are setting the industry on fire either. So
Mm-hmm.
I just think that we were, it was the whole thing when we replaced Howard Stern, and they were like, we have the person. It's going to be David Lee Roth, and I remember everybody just saying, "What?"
Yeah.
And obviously that's not what this is, but it's a lot easier said than done.
But there's also more fallout to this. Puck News reporting, and I don't know who Dylan Beyer is of Puck News, has also said that there is speculation, which is unconfirmed, that more changes could be coming. Maria Bartiromo might leave, as well as one of my favorites from the Five.
Oh, no.
And if this happens, I might have to issue a boycott. Judge Jeanine Pirro. The judge could be on the chopping block, apparently.
What do these three have in common?
2020.
Trump.
Yes.
They are the fiercest supporters, personally, of Trump. And what did I say when that little Dominion settlement came down? And it was going on when I worked for Fox, right? And I left, 9 years ago. And the Sons then, the word was they wanted to take over. And it was a little bit of a, back and forth between Rupert Murdoch and his sons. And so now look at what's happening here, that you have the ardent Trump supporters, are at risk here.
They also go on to say some other reports have suggested, without any substantial proof, that even host Sean Hannity could face some sort of warning. So I don't know what exactly that would entail.
Because he's close. Think about he's close to Trump. Think about, let's go back to Kathy Barnett even, and that, you know what I mean? So people who are accused of talking to Trump and doing his talking points and all of that, that's what I see here.
I can't imagine them getting rid of Sean Hannity, especially if Trump's the Republican nominee, because Hannity is always the guy that seems to get the one-on-one. And coming up in an election year, I mean, beyond a warning to Hannity, maybe if they got, maybe if it was this 2025, or if somehow Trump was not the nominee, but you're really going to get rid of the guy that has the closest relationship with Trump? You're going to cut off your nose to spite your face? I mean, I don't know. Maybe Tucker Carlson would then get Trump. I'm kind of surprised that Tucker got Trump a week and a half ago after all the text messages that came out.
Yeah.
Because I could have seen Trump saying, like, wait, you're texting about me and ripping me behind my back? I'm not coming on your show.
I was wondering, and Dawn, I think you and I were speaking privately about this. I was wondering if after this Dominion lawsuit, if the other shoe was going to drop, and who was, because look, you can say what you will, $787 million or whatever, it's a lot of money. So they have to, Fox News has to do something, I would assume. And there never going to get rid of Tucker Carlson. So that would never even be an option. So, what do you do? To Dawn's point, you kind of go after the low hanging fruit, and that's nothing against these women, but I don't know. I just feel like, and Sean Hannity too. I could see them, because Sean Hannity's time at Fox News is really, he's consistently the third or fourth rated show on that station, where he used to be number one. So maybe you save a little bit from his contract by doing that. I don't know. But there has to be some sort of ramifications, I would think, from the Fox company.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
No, I think the Suns were already there.
Yeah.
And when the owners of your company don't like you, you've got a target on your head to begin with. So now they have the excuse to do maybe what they've been wanting to do for years. I did see that Lawrence Jones, for now, steps in on that Saturday evening time slot. Which is a great move.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so they save money as well. They have a lot of up-and-coming younger talent that's making way less money. And it is, too, it's I'm just saying, like, a lot of people are going to take those jobs, and they're not making tens of millions of dollars a year.
Might be able to get OJ for cheap.
Stop.
Well, you're getting in somebody like Jesse Waters the ratings that Sean Hannity used to get, probably for half the price.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, probably. Because he's much younger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although he does do 2 shows. He does the 5 and the show.
That doesn't. No. I mean, like we've all been
I'm gonna
tasked
need
to do
you
more.
to pick up another hour, and I
mean,
can't pay you anymore.
Yeah, no, I mean but he hasn't been there as long as Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity was literally there since 1996 when it started.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine what he's making there.
My first job, my second job in radio was for another company in 2007. And when I started doing a morning show, because I was a full-time sales rep, and I was paid to sell 2 stations, Fox Sports Radio on the AM dial and News Talk Radio up in Allentown. And the lineup then was like Glenn Beck, Sean. I'm sitting here like as a 23-year-old and not a Republican at the time. Like, I have no idea who Sean Hannity is or what he's about. And here I am 15 years later, and Sean Hannity's still doing the same show.
I know.
Well,
Right.
not on this station anymore, but he's still doing it.
No, we have a better show there from 3 to 7.
His name is Zioli.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
855-839-1210. Yes, indeed.
Sorry.
Coming up next, final hour, Morning Mystery Movie Clip is on the way. The Philly Fanatic will come in here and make me uncomfortable. And we've got some other stuff to get to as well. Yeah. I can't really tease it because I lost my pages, but I'm still tracking that Fanatic over there. I see him. He's in another studio. You better be careful.
That's unbelievable.
A phobia.
That's right.
Of mascots.
Yes.
Kayal and Company, 9 o'clock hour is on the way. Stay there.
Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Out where the river broke, the bloodwood and the desert oak.
Kayal and Company, it is 9:05 on a Friday morning as we continue here. Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Nick Kayal, Dawn Stensland, Greg Stocker, Daniel Valdez, Anthony Dorenzo as we roll till 10 o'clock this morning. So much to do here in the next 50 minutes. Who won Twitter today? What's on the cut sheet? Part 2. What's on tap for the Dawn Show? The Philly Fanatic in studio in just about a half hour. We've also got our morning mystery movie clip coming up in about 15 minutes. And a couple of crazy stories to wrap up the week, including one revolving around Stephen King, another one about another university that's going to cave to the woke pressure of the left. And then also, in the world of sports, it looks like there's a business in Kansas City. Even though we are months removed from the Super Bowl, we've got a local business that's going to try to troll Philadelphia Eagle fans with a new product from their company. So we'll get to that story. And also, the secret is out with McDonald's. We're going to get to that story before we get out of here as well. But 9:06 on a Friday morning as we find out what's going on in the world of news. And for that, we welcome in Dawn Stensland for the Big 3 at 9.
It's the Big 3 at 9 on Kayal and Company.
Oh, wait a minute. Hang on.
Uh-oh.
Sorry.
Uh-oh.
Is this on? Hello, hello, hello.
Is this on? Hello, hello, hello.
Are you there, my love?
I'm here.
Oh,
hello.
There she is.
Oh,
I didn't touch any buttons.
No. It was.
Thought
it was
Don
me.
Lemon might have gotten
We had
to
to not to get too technical. We had to reset my board for John Brazier and the Fanatic, and it knocked Dawn's microphone right out.
We're going to need a bigger board.
Yeah, we are. Sorry, baby.
So, by the way, you mentioned, professors. So I will just say one of the headlines this morning is that at Rutgers faculty, we may see another strike in New Jersey. So we're watching that one. And I'll do two stories in one, a twofer, if you will, as one of the headlines is the walls are closing in on the Bidens. So this as, number one, the ex-acting CIA director has claimed that he had 50 spies sign a letter saying that Hunter Biden's laptop scandal, local story, little Delaware, repair shop, computer repair shop, that laptop scandal was actually Russian disinfo, and that the ex-CIA director allegedly did that to help Biden win the presidential election. And then there's another headline that the unnamed official, top official, whose sworn testimony before Congress that's being challenged, this is a bombshell letter, and it's naming actually Attorney General Merrick Garland. This is that bombshell letter we've referred to from an IRS whistleblower's attorney alleging a big cover-up in the Hunter Biden criminal investigation. So that's being reported, and there are new details within that one. And finally, on this day, we want to showcase our hometown heroes. So this is a Facebook page from Evesham Police Department, South Jersey Patrolman Ian Traver, hailed as a hero for preventing what could have been a tragedy here. Thanks to Officer Traver and all those police officers who responded to an incident, they were able to save the life of a man who was actually choking and suffering with some issues there. And so hailing Patrolman Ian Traver for his quick action to save the life of an Evesham Township resident, so South Jersey. So thank you, Patrolman Traver. You're our hero of this Friday, and it's the eve of Earth Day, and obviously a big day for our Phillies, and we're celebrating the birthday of the Philly Fanatic, which takes us to Nick Kayal, who loves mascots.
Love them. Have a seat on my lap. Let's do the show together, Mr. Fanatic.
Did you ever sit on a mascot's lap?
No, I sat on Santa's lap when I was a little boy, though.
And?
That didn't go too well either.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, apparently my mom said I cried a lot. I was throwing a fit.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh.
My daughters have done the same thing, too.
Yeah.
Every time we took them to see Santa when they were like 3, 4, and 5, they would just, lose their minds.
Yeah.
It must be in our genes.
No, it's actually a pretty common thing. And that's
Okay.
why, in the context of what you're saying with Santa Claus and dressed up big characters or mascots or things of that nature, then think about the drag shows where kids are dragged to the drag shows. And it's a big, especially if they're made up and they have feathers in their hair. I would say it goes along the same lines.
Yes, totally agree.
Little kids react to it. It's not just,
Yeah.
it's not just that it's not political for a kid. They're just looking at some big made up character.
I view mascots just like I do drag shows.
So Nick, you might fear that too.
That's
just
correct.
Dressed up
individuals. Yes.
Santa Claus.
No taking kids to drag shows, folks. All right?
Poor Nick. He was traumatized as
I
a
am.
child.
39 years old. I'm a broken and battered performer, Dawn. Well, I'll keep up the good fight.
I love it. That's our big three.
All right, Dawn with the news. Thank you very much, Dawn. 855-839-1210 is the phone number. So a couple of crazy stories to wrap up the week. If you missed any of the show this morning, we did a lot of the heavier stuff in the first couple hours of the show leading up to the cut sheet. Some great stuff in the big take if you want to go back and get that this morning between Stephen A. Smith and Clay Travis having a conversation where you have two people from opposite ends of the spectrums when it comes to politics and social issues. Also, zero House Democrats voting in favor of protecting women's sports. The rumored, reported big announcement coming down yesterday in the late afternoon hours that Joe Biden and his team officially will announce their campaign as early as next Tuesday for re-election. We also got into John Fetterman and the levels of his depression that he was going through. And then some of the stuff in the second hour that you might have missed. The left melting down over Twitter, over Elon Musk yanking their blue check marks away and making them have to pay. The electric cars, the weight of the batteries in these vehicles causing a garage to collapse. And then also RFK Jr. and whether or not he can be a factor in the 24 election. So if you missed any of that, the Odyssey app, hit up the rewind feature. You can go back and watch it on YouTube later once we are no longer streaming live. And if you missed the show and you were not here from the jump,
We start at 6 a.m.
Yeah, we start at 6, so, let's go. You just can't come moseying in here at 7:12 thinking you're going to get caught up to speed. It's not the way this works.
Yeah, you people with your lives and your jobs, how dare you?
Little Johnny, let Johnny get his own ride to school, all right?
Exactly. I mean, I know it's 9:13 in the morning and most of you are at work, but it doesn't matter. That doesn't excuse you.
That's correct. So how about this? We've talked about this in passing briefly from time to time, how J.K. Rowling is one of these individuals as an author that does not really care what you think about her views on politics, social issues, or even the fact of, gender identity and this nonsense of men transitioning to women and men can get pregnant. And she's taken a lot of heat for that, right? Well, also, Stephen King is now apparently transphobic, so says the left, because Stephen King is a very progressive individual. That being said, in one of his latest speaking engagements, he was at some sort of function titled "If Men Could Get Pregnant." And he started talking about this and having a conversation to which many people are now going after him hardcore from the standpoint of he's transphobic, blah, 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 blah. Like, let's think about this. I know we've had a lot of these conversations this week. It seems like right now in the news cycle, short of anything Biden or political with the 24 election, it's this, transition battle of men becoming females, whether it's competing in women's sports with Title IX or some of like the threatening things that we have played from TikTok on what's on the cut sheet, where men are basically, the call to arms of, hey, if you try to stop me from going in a female bathroom, it'll be the last mistake you ever make. There's a lot of this going on. And it's just remarkable to me because you have so many of these, what I believe are men going through mental health breakdowns that are trying to say they are women and they're trying to sell you on the fact that they are a woman. And then we get into defining, well, what is a woman? And there's one thing that's irrefutable here. It's irrefutable. There's two genders, male and female. And no matter what these individuals try to tell you, a man cannot get pregnant. It's just like a man cannot have, and I almost cringe saying it because I'm not a female. I'll leave it up to Dawn. A menstrual cycle, right? Like this is irrefutable biology. This is
this would be awesome.
Why do you?
It would be
Why do
awesome.
you say that? So they could feel the pain?
Yeah.
Okay.
Feel my pain.
Well, yeah, because you should be all over it. It's like, you want to be like me, and go ahead and have one of these stretches in a month.
It's not even a month. It's every 21 days.
Oh boy.
How the hell do you do that?
So think about it. If men actually experience this, we would automatically see, I don't know, government-funded surrogacy or something. I mean, I just think it might be a good thing for women if actually we could achieve this, even just for a day, because that would be it. Then they'd be like, oh no, well, you can have that.
You know, like dudes will always joke about it. Oh, she must be on her period this week. She's in a So, I mean, do you really go like? Let's go beyond the let's peel the onion back a little bit here. Are you legitimately in a foul mood for that stretch of every 21 days?
Not everybody is, but just physically. I'm not even talking about, because men have hormonal cycles too that we never talk about. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I will jokingly say sometimes to my boys, I'm like, oh, daddy's having his period. Like, I'll joke about that.
I'm a bear because I get up at 4 a.m. You know what I mean? I can't even imagine if I had to go through that every 21 days.
Yeah, that's the hormonal cycle of it, and it's all, it is biological, but men have that too, that we don't talk about, or teenagers or whatever.
Right.
But the physical side of it is that, you know, you think about Elon Musk and what he achieved yesterday. You think about going to Mars and all this amazing technology, cars that drive themselves, but nobody, just think about this for a minute, all the inventions. And nobody has, you know, just instead of stop the steal, stop the bleed. Why do we have to bleed every 21 days? If men did that, it would have been stopped a long. Heck to the no, right? The inventions that would happen.
By the way, as Dawn Senslin is talking about menstrual cycles, I can see the subscriber count going up on YouTube. So
can we only imagine? And men, like, are you kidding me? When is this kid going to be born? Because actually, technically, it's more than 9 months that you carry that baby. It can, depending on your pregnancy, it goes almost 10 months.
Yeah.
That you're physically.
What, 38 to 40 weeks, right?
Or sometimes 42, God forbid.
Oh, my goodness.
But think about that. Men would be like, oh, no, we got to figure something out. It'd be like, you know, some kind of surrogacy or, I can't, what, you expect me to work and go to work and I got to carry this? Oh, no, my back hurts.
By the time you get to like 37 weeks, you got to be like, all right, I just want this thing out already, right?
Oh, my
Because
God.
I remember my
imagine?
wife when she was pregnant with twins. And when my wife gave birth, and this is like so true because she's still a mama's girl to this day. Olivia came out first. She's a daddy's girl. It was all good. Mia came out second. She's a mama's girl. She tried to swim back upstream.
Yeah.
She wanted to go back in. She wasn't ready to come out.
But yeah, so think about all of the advancements that would happen if just for a day men could feel our pain as women. It's biological. So they're just pretending and they're that's why I think to me sometimes it comes off as a mockery to go, "Oh, do I have my something fairy?" Trust me, honey, if you actually had it, you wouldn't be calling it a fairy.
Yeah. We talked we played that clip yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, the period fairy didn't come.
The fairy come. And it's almost like mocking a woman. It's like, let me punch you in the stomach a couple of times so you can feel what that fairy really feels like when the fairy strikes.
Yeah. I can't, Nick, can you imagine that?
No.
Like we'd be laying on the couch with a
Could you
heating
bring
pad
me
on,
some soup?
with a rag over our head, being like, please don't.
Give me another ginger ale. Bring the thermometer in here.
Oh my God.
And that's why, think about like Pete Buttigieg. So think about men in a partnership in a marriage. The first thing they do when they adopt a baby is go, oh, I need all this time off. This is unacceptable. They don't even have the physical side of it.
Right.
Think about what they did as a two male partners in a married relationship when they had a baby and they haven't had any sleep. look at what happened for America. And all the, women who like given birth and have multiple kids and you have a job and you're still doing everything else are looking going, oh, well, thank you for recognizing it. But they were just like, oh, no, zero tolerance.
Yep.
I know that I'm a transportation secretary and I have a really critical job and we have some crises going on, but I got a crying baby that kept me up all night. And God forbid their baby was in the NICU. But many of our babies were in the NICU as well, and we didn't get all of that. But that's what they demanded.
Okay.
I can't imagine. Like, I'm just, when I have to wake up in the morning, my wife does a very good job of if my son gets up in the middle of the night and cries or whatever, she goes in there because she knows I have to, get up early for this job. I just, when I don't get my sleep, I am a mess. And I think about my wife who has like 3 hours of sleep. She still works full time. She's up with a kid at 2 a.m. When he loses his pacifier, and I'm like, oh, I didn't get my 7 hours last night.
See, even in this day and age where they try to tell us that the straight white cis male is a bad individual, it is still good. It is still great to be a man. 'Cause we don't have to deal with everything that women do.
And I'm not like men. There are pieces that I could go through why men and males and the way you're wired is awesome, but we are wired differently.
Yeah.
And it is the science and the fact that women, we are wired to be able to multitask and do all of this and wear high heels and look good all at the same time. It's the way we're wired.
Men just want to live like dogs. We just want to eat, scratch ourselves, go to the bathroom, and then go to bed.
And hump every now and then.
Yeah, well, yeah, from time to time. All right, it is 9:20, and as Greg Stocker would say,
in and out of every break, we need to jingle and hit the time.
It is Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. It's 9:21, and it's time for the Morning Mystery Movie Clip.
And now, the Morning Mystery Movie Clip on Kayal Company. Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Now, there's two ways to use a stun gun. Up close and personal. Or you can shoot it from a distance. Now, do I have any volunteers who want to come up here and do some shooting, huh? All right, how about you, young lady? Come on up here. All right, let's go, handsome. Come on. Not you, fat Jesus. Slide it on back. You, pretty boy. All right, now it's real simple. All you got to do is point, aim, and shoot. All right?
You don't really want to do this. Don't listen to this maniac. Let's think this thing through.
Finish him! Right in the nuts. That was beautiful.
Think you know what it is? Be call at 12 at 855-839-1210, and you could win this great prize.
All right, how about this? Final pair of tickets this week to the 3rd annual Down and Derby Wine Festival presented by Visit South Jersey and Camden County on Saturday, May 6th at Veterans Island at Cooper River Park in Pennsauken, New Jersey. Sample delicious wines from South Jersey's leading wine producers while immersing yourself in Derby-themed fashion and festivities. Must be 21 years of age or older to attend the event. But right now, caller 12, 855-839-1210 if you can identify that movie clip. Kayal and Company back after this with the winner and the Philadelphia Fanatics. Stay there. 9:28, Kayal and Company, as we continue here on a Friday. The Philadelphia Fanatic, the Philly Fanatic, my buddy, the mascot. He'll be in here in a couple of minutes with John Brazier. Philly Fanatic birthday coming up this Sunday, April the 23rd. Might be the most recognizable mascot, if you think about it, in all of sports. 855-839-1210, the phone number. All right, time to give away our pair of tickets, our last pair for this week for the 3rd annual Down and Derby Wine Festival. I have Karen in Bluebell on the line, who I believe has the correct movie identified. Karen, good morning. What movie clip did we just play for you about 5 minutes ago?
The Hangover.
That is correct. Woo! Something a lot of us might have tomorrow morning when we wake up. So, Karen, congratulations. You got yourself the Wine Festival tickets coming up on Saturday, May the 6th. We appreciate you listening, and thanks for playing.
Thank you.
You got it. Karen in Bluebell is our winner, and she's got the Wine Festival tickets, as here comes the Philly Fanatic in all his glory.
Wow.
We've got a huge birthday cake. There's the Fanatic.
Wow.
My guy. I'm starting to get a little shaky here. Knees starting to wobble. Palms a little sweaty. As we're getting ready for the Philadelphia Phillies Fanatic birthday, Sunday, April 23rd. And John Brazier is in studio with us.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
Well, first of all, I haven't seen you since the unexpected playoff run.
I
last
know.
year.
We did that. I was here every week because we kept advancing.
You've grown a beard since I last saw you.
I shaved the beard, put the beard on.
Yeah.
Shave the beard, whatever.
Is this like a pre-playoff rally beard? You're trying to get the team in the right direction?
It's pure laziness.
That's it's usually what it is.
Exactly
usually what it is. But so we got the birthday coming up on Sunday.
Fanatic's got a big birthday. It is a Citizens Bank or Citizens Fanatic birthday, 12:05 start. So if you have tickets, make sure you look at that ticket. It's a 12:05 start, not a 1:05 start, a 12:05 start.
Right.
And we want to make sure if you have tickets, get in your seats early. Get in your seats at 11:30 because the Fanatic, close your ears, Fanatic, because I don't think you know what the surprise is.
Okay.
Fanatic's going to have a mentalist, a futurist, a magician.
Wow.
There's going to be robots. There's going to be mascots. There's going to be chaos and a giant birthday cake. How about that?
It is very big, by the way.
So someone's going to be able to tell the Fanatic what his future looks like. Fanatic, you can open your ears now.
Yes.
Now, do you know what your future looks like, Fanatic? No, he doesn't look.
Hey, he's just like Don Lemon. He's got nothing to say. It's remarkable. Are you going to smash the cake in the face? No. He said no.
And you know what? Everyone asks, how old is the Fanatic, right? Well, that's an unfair question because the Fanatic is perpetually an 8-year-old.
Okay.
He never gets old.
Well, so am I.
I mean, look at him. I am too, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
So, yes, he smells like a petting zoo, but he's only 8 years old.
Yes.
Aww.
He's got a big nose, too. What size shoe does the Fanatic wear, by the way?
Very big shoes.
Yeah.
Like a 24?
By the way, it's a petting zoo on Low Tide Island, right? If you had 10 hockey bags on Low Tide Island with a petting zoo. All right, he's about to attack me.
Watch it. This is a no-violence zone.
Exactly.
We are mostly peaceful here. Let me ask you this. In regards to the evolution of the Fanatic and how many years it is. Did they crack the egg on me? I'm having traumatic flashbacks to when I was
John,
7.
by the way, he's afraid of mascots.
Yeah.
So.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Kindergarten graduation went bad.
From childhood.
You look pretty calm right there when he's waxing your head.
I'm a good salesman. I can sell anything. So did you ever envision the Fanatic being probably the most recognizable mascot, not in baseball, but in all of sports?
Well, think about it. So 1978, I think Bill Giles takes credit for having the idea to bring the Fanatic from the Galapagos Islands, right? And if you think about it, it was really the first mascot because there was a Mr. Met, but Mr. Met was it was kind of a bobblehead doll. It wasn't really a more, that was entered at games. The San Diego Chicken, but the San Diego Chicken was a radio station employee that would go to, I think it was their affiliate, that would go to the San Diego Padres game. So it wasn't a Padres chicken. It was the radio station chicken. So picture Philadelphia being the first one to have a mascot. And I can't imagine in 78, I'm sure I went to games in 78, but picturing the Philadelphia who has, it's tough to break into Philadelphia, right? It's not exactly, looking for new ideas, this and that. And Fanatic made his appearance, and right away, I'm sure there's a little testing period, but I think the Fanatic right away was beloved.
Yes,
right?
It was.
Kind of like Bryce Harper.
That's correct.
Was beloved right from the get-go.
Yes.
Right? Like Bobby Clark.
Right. We just can't afford to have the Fanatic on the disabled list, though.
No.
Right.
And Fanatic's done a lot of death-defying stunts, right?
That's correct.
He actually, if you remember last year, opening day, he parachuted into the ballpark. He's gone down a zip line from the top of the stadium down. He was, I think he was on an upside-down motorcycle, right? Was that right? No.
Exactly.
He's now saying.
and that's reason number one why I could never be a mascot is I'm afraid of heights.
Oh.
So parachuting, ziplining,
that's
you couldn't get me on top of this desk right now.
Yeah, that's the one reason, Nick.
No chance.
And he
well,
said
a litany of reasons.
The Fanatic also told me that he wants to replicate. Remember Kite Man?
Yep.
Kite Man from a long time ago. Kite Man would on this big hand glider would go from the top of the vet all the way down. Fanatic said at some point before he retires, he's either going to imitate the Great Wallenda and go across a tight wire across Citizens Bank Park, or he's going to go on the big hand gliding and come down to the field. Right, Fanatic? Yep, that's what he said.
So Phillies Rockies 12:05.
12:05. Yes.
So turn your clocks back an hour. Basically, is what you got to do here.
And Zach Wheeler will be pitching, so he's got to. Hopefully, we'll have a good chance of Fanatic. Actually, the Fanatic's birthday, we have pretty good luck, right, Fanatic? Kevin Millwood threw a no-hitter on his birthday, right?
Wow.
That was, oh my God, I remember that.
That was 20 years ago.
04?
It's a 20th anniversary. Actually, he's throwing out the first pitch next Thursday.
Yeah.
In honor of his 20th anniversary.
I remember that.
Yep.
Man, the Millwood era.
Yeah, he kind of took a little. Was that a good thing, Fanatic? Was that taking your day away, or was it an honor for you to have the no hitter on your birthday? An honor.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, a little bit. Still doesn't look very happy.
The Millwood no-hitter, that was still at the old stadium. That was pre-Citizens Bank Park.
That was in the vet, yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yep, because 2004 was the first year of the Citizens Bank Park.
Well, there you go. All right. Hey, one more time. So Sunday, April 23rd, get there early.
Get there early, 12:05
ish.
start. Yep, and 11:30, make sure you're in your seats to see the futurist, the mentalist, the magician, whatever you want to call him.
Right.
Can we send the Fanatic into Dawn's booth there? Because I would love to get that shot because we're broadcasting live now on YouTube.
Yes.
We can do it right now.
And I'll feel more comfortable once he's out of here. But you can leave the cake.
Well, the cake is staying here for you guys.
Oh, nice.
Beautiful.
Look at it. We get a cake.
All right.
Thanks to Giant.
There you go.
Thank you, Giant.
All right, there's the Fanatic and John Brazier. Thanks, John.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right. I like the beard, by the way. It's a
Thank
good
you.
look. You
Appreciate
can stay
that.
with Yeah, there he is.
That.
But that.
Fanatic's going to go into Dawn's booth.
All right, let's see if the Fanatic gets out of here quickly here. Keep going. No, you can go. Just leave the cake. Go bother Dawn.
Take the. We're broadcasting live right now on YouTube, youtube.com/@1210WPHT if you want to see all the fun and hijinks.
That is correct.
Go into Dawn's booth right now.
He's going
no.
over
there we go.
Yeah. Should we just do the cut sheet while Dawn messes around with the mascot?
Oh, we should break.
All right. We'll come back. We'll get to what's on the cut sheet part 2. We'll find out what's on tap for the Dawn show other than her talking to a mascot. And we'll continue live here on a Friday of Kayal and Company as we wrap up the week next on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
WPHT.
Kayal and Company, it's 9:41, Friday morning. What's on the cut sheet, part 2, coming up in about 3 or 4 minutes. We'll find out what's on tap for the Dawn Show and who won Twitter today. Philadelphia Philly fanatic marching his way down the hallway, left a big cake behind. This thing is huge. It's got to be at least 2 feet. Solid. All right, speaking of desserts and dairy and trolling, how about this story? And I mentioned this about 15, 20 minutes ago. So we're well past the Super Bowl, right? I mean, it's the end of April. Football fans are probably starting to gear up for the NFL draft and who the Eagles are going to take next week. But in Kansas City, and as well as Daniel Valdez, I mean, so there's like two factions of people that are going to like this. Kansas City Chiefs fans and those that hate on the Philadelphia Eagles like Daniel Valdez because he roots for the Cowboys and the Packers.
Ooh.
Exactly. How do you do that?
This is hideous.
A Kansas City milk company is releasing Eagles Tears, a cheesecake-flavored drink celebrating the Chiefs' Super Bowl victory over the Philadelphia Eagles. This apparently was released and made available to purchase about 12 days ago. This was actually April 10th. Chateau Milk will be bottling and distributing 11,000 bottles of delicious Eagles Tears that hit local shelves back on April the 10th. A limited release bottle and a cheesecake milk is available at the farm store, and this was their post on Instagram. Starting at 9 a.m. The product now available via pre-order and for home delivery, available at local grocery locations in the Kansas City area. And apparently, this is a cheesecake-flavored milk. Now, I don't understand why you have to mess with good milk. This is like almond milk, right? Like, I like putting a little almond milk in my coffee, but then you have, like, vanilla almond milk and chocolate-flavored almond milk. But a Kansas City milk company, Eagles Tears cheesecake flavored drink, which I'm going to give a hot take here at 9:44. I would argue that the cheesecake is overrated. On the pantheon of great desserts, I know a lot of people like cheesecake.
Yeah.
I, for one, not a cheesecake guy. If I've got options around the holidays, whether it's pumpkin pie, pecan pie, blueberry pie, donuts, danishes, even cake. I am not a cheesecake guy. Kind of find it disgusting, honestly.
I gotta say, I'm gonna give him a plug. I went for my birthday a few weeks ago. My wife took me to Old Stone. It used to be Marsha Brown's there in New Hope.
And you had a cheesecake for dessert?
They had a crab cheesecake, and I know that sounds disgusting.
Crab
cheesecake. It may have been the greatest thing I've ever tasted in my life. It was so good. Oh my God!
Did you get a little fresh crumbled crab on top of it?
It was basically crab and a bunch of cheese. You know what I mean? With a little, but it was. I mean, it was terrible for you, but it was just. It would stop an artery, but boy, was it good.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, right?
Yeah.
All right. So there you go. Kansas City Chiefs fans still rolling into the
Boo.
victory. Scumbags.
Let them with their cheesecake. Eagle. First of all, Eagles Tears.
I know.
It sounds like an environmental message about dying eagles with the turbines killing them or something.
Terrible.
It's a low energy.
Low energy.
thing.
I agree. It's like the Jeb Bush of desserts.
It's not what I said.
Terrible. All right, 9:45. Greg Stocker. Let's get to what's on the cut sheet part 2.
What's on the cut sheet?
Part 2. By the way, we are broadcasting live on YouTube, youtube.com/@1210WPHT. Shout out to Adriana and Whip. She says, or they say, I'm glad I found out that we, meaning Kayal and Company, are on YouTube. I finally have another good use of my YouTube Premium.
There you go.
So there we go.
Nice.
YouTube Premium. Shout out to everybody watching on YouTube. We're like 40 away, maybe 40 away from 1.6.
Whoa.
So can you be the 1600th YouTube subscriber? Can we do this by the end of the day? I think we can.
Come on.
YouTube.com/@1210WPHT. Hit the subscribe button. Lions GM, you discussed this earlier, Nick Kayal, but we have the audio.
Oh, cool.
Lions GM Brad Holmes wearing a support women and girls in sports sweatshirt. This is what he said. Here, let me put this up here. This is what he said at the presser yesterday.
Okay.
Oh.
This process. Always admire how he can kind of end a long season and just dive right into our process. But as always, just a pure joy to work with side by side. And that's my brother, man. So really appreciate what he does.
So basically, he was talking, but it's a way for him, for everybody watching on YouTube, to see the support women and girls in sports sweatshirt. Very, very cool, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he doesn't go on to say that verbally then?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I was misled a little bit on this clip, but it's fine.
Okay.
But just to point it out, even though it's great that you highlighted Greg, because he was trying to be subtle.
Yep.
And he didn't want to. If he had said anything, he'd really be getting canceled.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that it was subtle, he gets away with it. He knew that.
But think about this. You're the general manager of the Detroit Lions. You have a media availability. Your NFL draft is coming up, and you wear that shirt that says, I support women's sports and protect women and all that, which, this goes towards the whole Riley Gaines discussion. And Riley Gaines actually retweeted the picture of that GM doing it. And we have seen many times, and it's usually on the left, where you get these political or social messaging coming from people in the world of athletics, and now all of a sudden it's somebody on the other side of the spectrum. And look, I don't even know. Brad Holmes might not even be a Republican. He might not be a conservative. He just might have common sense and says, you know what? Women should not have to compete against men.
Hopefully this is the beginning of something where we can look at issues, the issues.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Instead of just falling down on,
Well, Nick, I mean, at 9:48 this morning, we're kind of bringing it full circle because you started the show this morning with a big take saying that, Clay Travis was on with Stephen A. Smith.
Yep.
They disagree, but they had a conversation. And, we need to stop with well, you voted for Trump, so I'm never speaking to you. Or you voted for Biden, so I'm not. Enough. Who cares?
Yeah.
People are, you blame. We talked about this earlier about, there's a big article this morning in the Inquirer, with fear and firearms, distrust turns deadly.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it is because we become so siloed.
Oh, yes.
In our social media echo chamber world, we don't have to speak to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
The pandemic just made us afraid of everything.
You can isolate yourself to whatever specific niche thought process you have and see no other differing viewpoints in this world.
And it's sad. You know what I mean? It's sad. Go out and talk to people. And if politics aren't brought up, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I just never understood why the left is so afraid of free speech. Why do you not want to? Nobody's saying you have to agree with it.
Yep.
But I mean, why are you afraid to hear opposing viewpoints?
I agree. Gavin Newsom was walking through the streets of San Francisco, and he was shouted out by a heckler who was asking him about the fentanyl and how it's becoming a problem in California.
Mm-hmm.
Gavin, tell me what you're going to do about the fentanyl epidemic. Please, my name is J.J. Smith.
What should I do,
And I want to know
what you want
to do about the fentanyl epidemic.
You to tell me what we need to do. That's why I'm here.
You tell me what
you tell me what to do.
God.
That's why I'm here.
Oh, my God. How nauseating is that?
I mean, is that not arrogance personified right there?
You tell me. No, that's why we elected you, dummy.
Yeah. Wow.
That's just it. We allow elected officials to just talk about things like pronouns instead of what is your plan?
Yeah.
What is your plan of action?
Pronouns over plans, pronouns over policy.
Yep. They don't have a plan.
No.
Alyssa Farah Griffin was on the CNN morning show this morning talking about DeSantis. She says DeSantis' lack of interviews makes people wonder if he's capable of defending his positions.
What's going on with Governor DeSantis? Because so many people sort of crowned him even before he hasn't even officially gotten in the race. And yet all the headlines this week are about, how he's struggling. He just lost, he didn't get the endorsement of the congressman for his own former district in Florida, the Republican congressman. What's going on?
And a big donor.
Big donor.
I think he's still working to establish a professional team around him. I actually have a number of friends who are on his PAC that are very experienced operatives, but they're still in this firewall until he's an announced candidate. He's gotten some very bad advice. I mean, the single thing that hurt him the most was calling Ukraine a territorial dispute. You had the most prominent Republicans saying, whoa, 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 that is not where we are. But I also think these cultural wedge issues are hurting him, and the continued war against Disney. It's certainly too soon to write his obituary politically. But I said from the outset, let's see him tested on a national stage. For someone like Ron DeSantis, if you take a position that is, perhaps controversial, like the so-called Don't Say Gay bill, then he needs to come and sit down with mainstream media and explain, this is why we think this is best for Florida, or 6-week abortion ban. You have to be able to defend it to unfriendly audiences, and I can't think of a single time I've seen him do that yet. To Trump's credit, in 2016, he'd go on Morning Joe, he'd go on CNN, and he'd argue, and it wasn't always good, it wasn't always healthy or ripe for debate, but he at least had the conversation. DeSantis isn't doing that, and it makes people wonder if he's capable.
Yeah, and Trump did that 7 years ago, but I think we're in a different space right now where I think both sides very rarely are either welcomed to the opposing hostile territory for an interview or want to. I mean, very rarely do you see, conservatives in a big interview set. Like, I don't think, the ABC Newses of the world want to interview guys like that because they already have told you that they don't like their policies. And then conversely, we know Democrats, they don't want to engage in debates at all, and they'll just campaign from a basement. So, I think the day and age of, this adversarial process of interview in unfriendly waters seems to be like a dying thing.
Except that Trump, when he was everywhere.
Right.
He was when Mika and Joe were his buddies.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He would come on live. He would call in live. He was everywhere.
And I still think he would do it today. I just don't think they want to bring him on. Would you agree with that?
I don't know. With his legal cases, I think that his lawyers are doing a good job of saying, please, God, don't call in live. Right?
Yeah, no, legal stuff aside, I'm thinking staying strictly in the, political waters.
I think it's interesting that in Politico had that report, was it late February, that, that the Bush family, that they are talking up DeSantis, and there were all of these reports that the Bush family is helping to back DeSantis.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
So I don't know if that helps or hurts, but
I think it hurts.
It hurts a lot.
Yeah.
It hurts a lot. Well, there's a lot of articles this week, Nick, about, basically writing DeSantis' epitaph, being like, hey, you had your moment in the sun and you're blowing it.
He might have peaked way too early.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that happened with Jeb Bush, too.
Yep.
And it's not a good look, by the way. It's not a good look as a governor of a state that is having gas lines that are happening in Florida.
And he's in South Carolina.
And he's in South Carolina, promoting his book. And we would be fair, we would slam Biden or Pete Buttigieg or anybody else for that.
And when there was flooding in Fort Lauderdale, he was in Ohio.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been in the wrong state at the wrong time twice now.
Yeah,
and that happened to Chris Christie locally a couple of times.
It did. Yep. Yeah, you're 100% right. It did. During Chris Christie's time to shine, like there was all kinds of national discussions about Chris Christie at that time.
So. All right, Dawn Stensland's coming up in 5 minutes. What's on tap for the Dawn Show?
So it's Friday, so it's got to be Big Larry Menti.
Is the lighting okay?
Will join us at 11, and we'll talk. He's been investigating some of what's going on with the turbines down the Jersey Shore. So he has some Matt Taibbi news as well. So he has some different takes on things, which I love. This is what we talk about, as Greg said. You guys are talking about news issues? So we'll talk about that at 11. I know that Broad and Liberty, we have a repeat, regular, one of our regulars from Broad and Liberty who we've had on for years. And as well, we have some local suburban officials. We have some call-ins about what's going on in suburbia to keep teens safe and give them those safe, good kind of recreational and parks and that sort of thing. So, And, of course, we're updating everything locally and nationally. We have a lot breaking this morning.
All right, the Dawn Show coming up at 10 o'clock this morning. Have a great rest of your Friday, and we will talk to you Monday morning at 6 here on Kayal and Company.
Sick of you. I'm sick of all of this. I'm done with it.